This conference will now be recorded.
Everyone, you'll be getting your link for the meeting for your documents in about 10 minutes. So please look at your email.
Giovanna get it?
Kevin will get it. She'll send it to her.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Frank.
Hello, everyone.
Yes. Fasto, what's going on,
What's
man?
up? What's up, brother?
All right, everyone, welcome. So just put yourselves on mute until we get everybody in. But welcome. Your folders will be coming soon, so please check your email.
Excuse me.
And Ms. Bernadette, I'm going to put you on mute for now, okay?
Oh, okay.
I got your presentation, Bernadette.
Oh, great. Great.
Vivian, I'm going to put you on mute, okay?
Okay.
Hi, Edmund.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Mr. Gideon. We'll put yourself on mute, please. Thank you. Mr. Das, you have to put yourself on mute, please. Mr. Das, I'm gonna, okay. Hello, everyone. All board members, we were waiting for some additional reports to come in. You will be receiving the link soon. Hello, Dr. Machi. How are you doing? He was here for a minute. Hi, Mr. Chowdhury. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I have just I left the other meeting.
Okay,
And then,
thank you, Mr. Chowdhury. We'll talk about it a little
yeah,
later.
yeah.
Thank you. Hi, Michelle. We got your message. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. I will let you know if anything changes. There might be a chance that she'll join, but I'll message you.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Frank.
Great.
Hi, Frank, can you identify yourself? Are you a speaker?
I am a representative of the restaurant no, I'm sorry, Friends Corner Cafe.
All right, you can put yourself on mute, and when the business echo chair comes on, he'll call on you, okay?
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Renetta English. I'm chairperson of Queens Community Board number 3. I'd like to welcome you to our March 18th meeting. We'll be starting in about a minute. If you haven't seen it, I know our agenda is on social media. Members, you will be please check your email periodically. You will be getting the link with all of the documents for today's meeting. And Kevin will let me know once he gets that link so that you can refer to the reports and the agendas in there. All right. Just want to make sure all of our speakers are here. And please, everyone, when you enter the meeting, please put yourself on mute. Okay, Kev. I see
All
some
right.
additional situations going on in regards to the phone.
Okay. All right. Are we ready?
Yeah, but before we start, I'd like to welcome everyone again to the March Queens Community Board number 3 meeting. And before we officially start our meeting and to do our roll call, I'd like to have a moment of silence because, as you know, it's a year into COVID-19, and I'd like to have a moment of silence for all of the residents that we've lost in our community. Okay, everyone. As I mentioned, we lost so many in our community, and I'm so happy to see. I know that we were personally affected from the community board in regards to folks that did get COVID-19. And I'm so excited to see so many of you have returned and are healthy. And it's wonderful again to see you in the month of March. So as we do with all of our meetings, please, as you come in, please put yourself on mute. If you have any questions, please type it in the chat. Very good. Thank you. So before we officially begin our meeting, we do roll call. So Kevin, if you can do roll call, and then we'll continue.
All right. Kamblata. Ann Brown. Elba Buendia.
You just arrived.
That's our Elba.
Yeah, I believe so.
Elba Buendia, are you here?
All right, continue.
I'm on my way.
Yeah,
Here.
Hi,
she's
Elba.
there.
I gotcha. Mark Burmester.
I'm here.
Mr. Chowdhury.
Yes, I'm here.
Heiko Corneliuson. Shiv Das. Sonia Davis Roberts.
Here.
Vivian Dock.
Let me unmute her. She's here.
Okay. Margaret Dossier. Renetta English.
Here.
Mr. Gandhi. Mr. Gideon.
I'm here.
Pastor Peter Haran. Lorinda Hooks.
Here.
Mr. Howletter. Kevin Hughes Naboa, that's me, I'm here. Joyce Julian. Edward Kiernan.
I'm here.
Gotcha, Joyce.
Here.
Edward Kiernan, here. Stephen Kohanek.
Here.
Marta Leberton.
Here.
Carlos Andre Lopez. Lisa Masulam. Ralph Moreno.
Lisa's
Richard
here.
Mulling. Oh, Lisa, you're here. Okay. Richard Mullings. Laverne Nimmons. Veronica Ing. Nulo O'Doherty.
Present.
Philip Pappas. Esteban Peralta. Adisla Perez. Dorothy Phelan. Megan Rockwell. Pasto Rodriguez.
I am here.
Jairo Rodriguez. Leoncio Romero. Tammy Rose.
Please put your phone on mute, everyone. Laverne Nimmons is here.
Edmund Rosenbaum.
Here.
David Rosero. Lobsang Salaka. Jimmy Smith.
He's here. Wait, let him say he's here. Hold on. Mr. Smith, announce yourself. Mr. Smith?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm here.
Very good.
Marlene Tapper.
Here.
Frank Taylor.
Mr. Taylor is here.
Who? Present.
Frank Taylor. Arthur Tyler.
I'm here.
Chanel Thomas Henry.
Here.
Pat Thorpe. Hamlet Wallace.
Here.
Roy Washington Simon.
Present.
Edwin Wesley. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Kevin.
I
How
also
many?
see,
Richard
we're at 26.
26, and we currently have 65 attendees. And I'd like to welcome our Congresswoman, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. We didn't think that we would have her here, but she's here. She just voted on something that's very important. and she'll talk all about it, I figure. So we welcome you, and we're excited to have you here, and thanks for making it right on time.
Yeah, no, of course. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that that I was able to make it right now. And actually this week, Congress is in session for an extra week, you know, beyond what was originally scheduled for this month, because we are truly having one of the most productive quarters that Congress has had in a very, very long time. And in terms of what we just voted on, I am very proud to announce that just as of a few minutes ago, the House just passed the DREAM Act, the Dream and Promise Act. And so we are now authorizing, and we just passed a major, major step to make sure that we get a path to citizenship for millions and millions of people, but we're not stopping there. Next month, we can expect to mark up the U.S. Citizenship Act. And we are also eagerly awaiting Joaquin Castro to introduce the Citizenship for Essential Workers Act. So we are working really, really hard. I'm actually popping in between two votes right now, because the next vote that we're having in just a few minutes is on the U.S. Farm Workers Act, to make sure that we can really expand opportunities for a lot of our immigrant farm workers, who of course have been one of you know, just one class of many essential workers here during the pandemic, and we want to make sure that they are taken care of as well. So those are two really important bills that we're voting on just today. Yesterday, I believe, we passed the Violence Against Women Act, which should shore up a lot of provisions and make sure that we are keeping lots and lots of people safe in this country. But yeah, I wanted to check in because one of the things, of course, that we also passed recently was the American Rescue Plan, which many of you may know is the COVID bill. There's going to be a lot of provisions that I think people are going to be starting to see coming in. Of course, there are the stimulus checks. They are $1,400 per person in your family. This includes millions of people that did not get stimulus checks the last couple of rounds. So adult dependents are included. That means college students. That means adult with disabilities. All dependents are included. So children will be able to get covered as well. And so, you know, if you're a single parent, you're not just looking at one $1,400 check. You could potentially be looking at thousands of dollars. Now, that is before we even get into the child tax credits, which are coming in the form of a stimulus, or kind of a check as well. So a lot of people, you know, don't know that these stimulus checks, they are in the form of a tax credit that's given to you in advance. You don't have to worry, you don't have to pay any of it back or anything like that. But legally, that's the way that they are able to, that's the way the federal government is able to get you and authorize that check. And so we've essentially done that for people with children. So there are going to be recurring payments sent to families for each child starting about 80 days from now. So in early summer, the goal is to have them monthly, and they will add up to $3,600 for every child under the age of 6 and $3,000 for every child that's 17 and under. And so these are additional factors. As well, you know, kind of talking about COVID too. We've been working, Senator Schumer and I have been working very closely with FEMA to authorize funeral reimbursement expenses. And FEMA is setting the rules out for about next week. And then, which means I believe in the weeks after, they will be formally opening the program. So if you have lost a loved one, and this was, you know, something that we worked on really hard since last year, but if you lost a loved one during the pandemic, any and all funeral expenses or expenses related to putting your loved one to rest can be reimbursable by FEMA. And we are hearing up to $9,000 per case. And so if you have just the extreme, if you met tragedy last year and lost a loved one, you don't have to bear that cost. You know, we know how incredibly expensive funerals and all of that can be. And no one should have to confront that on their own. So you will be able to get financial assistance along with a ton of other provisions. If anyone has any questions or anything like that, or if there's something specific with your case, please feel free to contact my office. PPP has been extended, EIDL has been extended, and until March 31st, so about 10 to 15 days, the SBA is distributing PPP loans. And I don't believe they'll be able to do it afterwards. So if you have been having trouble with a bank or securing a PPP loan, the SBA is authorized to cut you that check for PPP themselves, but it's only for the next 1 to 2 weeks. So please make sure you get the word out about that as well for all of our small business owners.
Do you have time for about 3 or 4 questions, or do you need to go back to go and vote?
Let me check.
Okay.
I think I'll be okay for 1 or 2 questions. Yeah.
Okay, Kevin, do you want to see if there's any? Everyone has to type their question in the chat. So, Kevin, do you see any questions there?
Yes, I have a question from Nuala O'Doherty, board member.
Okay,
Nuala, go ahead.
You can unmute yourself. Nuala?
All right, there we go. Hi. As you know, Congresswoman, the air train really negatively affects this community. It's going to bring a lot of construction, a lot of vibration. It's going to hurt our waterfront. It's going to impact our community, but it doesn't help our community at all. It doesn't provide any transportation to our community. Where a subway with local stops to the airport will be a great advantage to our community. Is there anything you can do to help us stop this billion-dollar boondoggle of an air train? And what can you do to try to make them actually build some infrastructure that will help the community as well as provide better transportation to the airport?
Yeah, so thank you for bringing this up. We have been opposed to this particular air train project for a while because it just doesn't do what an air train is supposed to do. The way that they have rerouted it does not cut down on the commute times for people, and it poses a threat of a lot of disruption to the community. And like I said, if there was an option here where it would cut down on commute times and things like that, I think that's one question. But the thing is that it doesn't really, with all of the public transit assessments that have been done, it doesn't really show that it's going to cut commute times down, because you have to go all the way out and then all the way back in from Manhattan. So we have done everything that my jurisdiction and my office is able to do. We have written to the FAA. When the FAA kind of turned down all the other options, we filed a petition to have them reconsider. And so we've been able to buy time for us to kind of help the community mobilize and things like that. Originally, this was supposed to get rushed through, I think, in 2019. And so we have submitted several letters to the FAA citing our concerns on this project. But I think there was just some news that came out this week about it, and we're trying to explore what options we have on the federal level. As you know, the governor is using a lot of state funds and state investment to build this. And so we're doing our best with what we can with our jurisdiction, but I do think that this is also going to have to require some state level intervention as well.
All righty, so
Right.
another question.
The next question comes from board member Lobsang Salaka, and questions are now closed.
Hi, this is Lobsang Salaka. How are you, Congresswoman?
Well, thank you.
So how are you going to address the hate crimes against Asians, some kind of upticking these days? And actually, my wife is kind of victim of it, and she's not from China, but she was told, hey, go back to your country.
Right.
I mean, that's
yeah, well, first and foremost, Lobsang, I'm so sorry to hear that your wife has been victimized in just this recent out of control spate of hate crimes towards our Asian community. And as you mentioned, you know, these folks, racist violence, white supremacists, they are not thoughtful enough they don't, you know, to really care about what your story is or how you're from. You know, they target everyone that they consider an other. And as we know, this week has been absolutely heartbreaking, and with what happened in Atlanta. And we know that, frankly, the hatred that has been incited over years, but absolutely concentrated over the last year, is starting to spill over. And so, you know, one thing that we want to make sure that we're doing is that we are, you know, proactively reaching out to our community, especially Asian community leaders, small businesses, stakeholders, et cetera, to make sure that you all have what you need in feeling supported and protected. And we have to stand up and use our positions as examples to be forceful in supporting our Asian community and standing up to racism and white supremacy. And I think that one of the things that we're going to have to do is figure out how we're going to move forward together in terms of changes that that our community feel are necessary to make sure that that this kind of targeting doesn't happen any longer.
Thank you. And I know that you visited the businesses on 74th Street where we had the terrible fire and over 16 business owners have lost their properties. And I know that Mr. Shivdas, who's the president of the Merchants Association and also a community board member. So can you repeat again the type of assistance that they would hopefully be able to receive?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been working very closely with a lot of these small businesses that were personally affected by this devastating fire right there by Diversity Plaza. It's actually about a block or two from our office. And so first things first, you know, one of the things that we want to make sure that we're doing is whatever we can get out the door to them, we want to make sure that we can get out the door. So even if the insurance claims and things like that may take a while, we want to make sure that they have access to PPP, if they can get that access to PPP, EIDL, et cetera. And then secondly, what we want to make sure that we're there too is that if they are receiving if they're getting any trouble, or if these insurance companies are giving them any trouble about getting reimbursed, documentation, et cetera, that we are willing to have their back on that and make sure that that they aren't being marginalized. Now, the real question that we're going to have to come together as a community is that, as we know, this is our Jackson Heights. What makes our district and our community beautiful is that we are an immigrant community. We're a small business community. And so there are some folks that were in that fire or some businesses rather that were in that fire that had more kind of informal arrangements, you know, subleases and things like that, which it's going to be uphill. And I know that I'm sure some insurance companies will give them a hard time about that. So we want to make sure that we rally around them as a community. We've been in close touch. We've talked about the potential of making sure that we can allow provisions for street vending and things like that to help people get back on their feet as we figure out short-term, medium-term, and long-term plans that are best for them.
Okay, Kevin, the next question.
The next question comes from the community. Dylan Bashaw.
Hey, AOC, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, I'm a big fan of everything you've been working on lately, especially what you've done recently in Congress. I just want to know, is there any plans to help with legal immigration, expanding H-1B visas, expanding F-1 visa students who are on F-1 visas to transition to full-time employment in the U.S.? Pretty much, yeah, just expanding legal immigration.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, there's a lot of immigration provisions that are and a lot of new immigration proposals that we are taking a look at. So right now, as you mentioned, what we're voting on this week is the DREAM Act. It's now updated to call the Dream and Promise Act, which also contains a lot of relief for our TPS members of our community, which there are so many communities in our district that have been subject to so much of the insecurity around TPS. So this helps a lot of our communities affected by TPS. But with the H-1B and a lot of these other visas, those provisions and those changes and proposals for those changes are going to be up in about April. And so if there are specific visa questions that you'd like us to review, please reach out to our office. Michelle is also on the call, and we can kind of talk to you about the U.S. Citizenship Act, as well as the Citizenship for Essential Workers proposal. So it's good that we have this conversation now, because if there's something that's not addressed, we can try to amend it in the bill that should be up for a vote next month.
And I just want to let you know Michelle is wonderful. Go ahead, Kevin, next person.
All right. Our next question comes from board member Marlene Tapper. Marlene?
Yeah, I was trying to get my camera back on. I'm very concerned about Roe versus Wade and what the Arkansas governor has done. So I wanted to know if Congress is going to do something to stop other governors from following suit in his path.
Yeah, well, so the reason that these governors are doing this is because they know that they are either flagrantly violating the law, or the federal law, or they know that they are really trying to test the limits of federal law. And so they are structuring these changes in a way where they're forcing it to go through the courts. And this has been kind of their game plan, where if they can work with Trump last term, pack the courts, and then have governors try to challenge and have laws that challenge Roe v. Wade. That's essentially what their path is in trying to overturn the legislation, or rather overturn the ruling. And so a lot of this has to do actually not just with the laws that we're passing on the books, but with our courts. And so I'm very happy to say that I've actually been working with Representative Mondaire Jones from up in Westchester. And what we're trying to do is that we've been working closely to identify candidates, progressive candidates, judicial candidates, and or just like very promising judicial candidates to make sure that they get on these courts as quickly as possible, because one of the strongest areas of defense against all of these state laws is making sure that our courts are adequately staffed with responsible judges. And so we've been working it not just with what we've been doing this week with the Violence Against Women Act that has a lot of provisions to protect women and so on, but we're also trying to make sure that we are covering our bases in the judiciary, so that when governors do try to challenge it in the courts, that there will be a responsible person hearing that challenge and make sure that people's rights remain protected.
Okay, the final question.
All right, and if you have time for one last question from a longstanding board member, Shiv Das, who Renetta, our chair, just mentioned a moment ago, I'm going to unmute him to ask this question directly.
He has to unmute himself.
Yep, come on.
Mr. Das, you have to unmute yourself.
Mr. Das, unmute yourself. There you go.
He's good now. Go ahead, Das. They just unmute. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Das. Mr. Das, you have to start all over again.
I think he's having a technical difficulty. AOC, your representative Michelle is getting a lot of love, by the way.
Michelle is amazing. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Mr. Das, we can't hear you.
Renetta, maybe I can kind of paraphrase.
Okay.
Renetta?
Yeah, can you hear him? Go ahead,
I can't hear him, but
go ahead, Ms. Reed.
No. Thank you very much for attending our meeting, Congresswoman. I just want to say on behalf of the 74th Street Merchant that they are in dire need of assistance. More than 16 businesses were impacted by the fire, and some of those businesses will not be able to return because of the fact that they don't have the necessary funding to re-establish their businesses. And we would be most appreciative of any assistance that you can provide. Many of them don't have access to banking or loans or grants. Many of them are very small businesses with less than 10 employees. So we just wanted to bring that to your attention and would appreciate any assistance that may be available to them.
Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
District Manager of Community Board 3.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, our office right now is looking into any and every possible avenue for help, and we're also keeping any close tabs on any ways that we can divert resources, their way. So it's definitely something that we're keeping close tabs on, but I'm asking everyone here also to be our eyes and ears. And if you see any, or if any of you all identify any paths that we can be of assistance, especially, just given the how vulnerable a lot of these families and communities are, please keep an eye out and please forward anything that you may hear of in terms of ways for us to send support that, of course, can remain above board for what my office is capable of. So we're paying close attention, but please stay in touch, and we're going to try to do everything we can for these families and these businesses.
Well, thank you so much, Congresswoman. It's a pleasure having you at our meeting, and we wish you all the best and all the best with your next vote.
Absolutely. Thank you all. I'm going to head off to vote. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Assemblywoman Catalina Cruz, I saw you were on. If you could turn on your camera.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. This is a really cool setup. Thank you for having me. I hope everybody's having a great evening. I wanted to come and say hello. It's been a while since I got to see many of you outside of just walking in the neighborhood. I wanted to give you some quick updates of the work we've been doing in Albany, and to answer any questions that you might have. Our office over the last year has been hard at work at helping our community through a number of ways. We actually turned our office into a food pantry where we gave approximately 250,000 meals and boxes of food. We had a baby pantry. We unfortunately had to shut it down because the nonprofit that partnered with us ran out of funding, and because we had to open it back up to the community. We have helped thousands, because it's been now thousands of people with everything from unemployment. Many people were having a terrible time getting their unemployment actually approved, especially the folks who had more informal employment setups, and our office was able to help them. The folks who are facing eviction, while it's not, only a part of Corona is within your community board, Corona actually happens to have the highest eviction rate in all of Queens, and one of the highest in the city. So we've been working on that issue, and we'll continue to work on that. In Jackson Heights, one of the things that we've had is many of our seniors have had a really tough time getting their vaccination, and when they do find an appointment, it's nowhere near our neighborhood. I've had several seniors who've had to go to Jamaica, to downtown Brooklyn, and so our team is working on increasing access here in our neighborhood, so they don't have to go far. And sometimes you wonder why the rate of vaccination is so low. It's because we're not making it easy for people. The other thing that we have been doing is pushing forward legislation to tackle many of those same issues. I have at least 3 bills that are helping small businesses get back on their feet, doing everything from tax incentives if you hire a worker that lost his or her job because of COVID, to providing an out, if you will, when they can no longer perform their rental contract, and being able to just get out of that contract and move on, and possibly start a different business. Unfortunately, is the reality that many people are living, and we're hoping that as we move forward and we invest more money in helping them recuperate, it won't be so. But that's the reality we have now. I recently We passed 2 bills to help our seniors. One will deal, I'm sure many of you have heard now what's happened with our senior living facilities and how we don't really have real numbers of how many people died, because depending on who you ask, you'll get a different version. And so what I've now mandated with the bill we just passed is to create a task force that looks at all of our seniors, the folks that live in housing facilities, the folks that live at home. What are their needs? How are the state meeting them? And how can we do it better? And the other one, which I have seen flyers from your community board as well as others many times, is identity theft. Unfortunately, especially during COVID, many of our seniors fell victims to identity theft. And now it is because of the law I just passed, it is a form of abuse, elder abuse, that is going to entitle our seniors to more help so that they can get back on their feet and we can tackle that issue. And one of the things that I am very proud of, and hopefully will be passing during this budget, is the Nourish New York program. Many of you saw that during the pandemic, there were many formal and informal food pantries open in Jacksonville Heights, Corona, and Elmhurst, because we don't have like an actual site. We don't have an actual community center where a food pantry operates out of. So you'd have nonprofits, you had some of our electeds, you had my office actually operating food pantries because people were without a job, people needed to eat, and we needed to give them help. This particular program actually takes the surplus food in our farms, that many of you may not know this, but during the pandemic, many of our farmers were having to throw away the food because they had no way to get it down to New York. So imagine that while our neighbors were starving because they had no jobs and couldn't buy food, our neighbors upstate were throwing it away. My bill would create a permanent source of food to go from our upstate neighbors down to our food pantries and into the hands of the people that need it. The other thing that we have been doing is working very closely with our departments of health and the different in our community hospital to test people out of our office. So every Thursday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. we have a COVID testing site. It's free. If you don't have insurance, you can come over, get your test, and 2 days later, you actually get your result. That's actually one of the ways I test. I test every 2 weeks. And we are helping our seniors and anybody who needs help to get their vaccination. For people who don't know, starting this week, if you are a public-facing employee of the government or of a nonprofit, you can get your vaccination and we can help you make the appointment because unfortunately, there's not enough locations. Last week, I see Assembly Member Jessica Gonzalez Rojas, who is on last week, her and I, along with Jeff Aubrey, stood together to demand that the governor actually and the mayor increase vaccinations in our neighborhood because we have some of the lowest rates. And we're hoping to hear in the next couple of days about a possible 2 or 3 pop-up sites where they can vaccinate 400, 500, 600 people in one day, and that will mean a lot for our community. And so expect that you'll get a flyer from my office when that happens. I think, and 2 more things. We are working right now with the Board President's office to have a virtual job fair. Unfortunately, we can't do it in person. Hopefully, eventually we can, but one of the things we want to help our community do is get back to work. And the other thing that we are doing is our community cleanups. The city council last year cut the budget for our Department of Sanitation. And so I know many people have seen that our streets are not as clean as they used to be. And so we took matter into our own hands. And in the fall, we had 3 rounds of community cleanups in the 3 neighborhoods I represent. And we're going to have another 3 rounds in the spring. We'll send you a flyer. Anyone who wants to join us is more than welcome to. And that is my update. I hope to see many of you under better circumstances, maybe at the next community fair. I encourage you all to stay healthy, get tested. You are welcome to come by my office and get it and do it for free every 2 weeks, every week, however you want. I hope you guys get vaccinated. I got my first dose on Monday of this week. It was not as painful as some people say, but you know, it depends on who you are and how your body reacts. But ultimately, it's way better than the alternative. And so we encourage you to get vaccinated so that we can hopefully get back to normal. And that is my update.
Thank you so much, Assemblywoman. And as you mentioned too, we would definitely like to recognize Assemblywoman Jessica Gonzalez Rojas. And I know she's been joining us for the last 2 months and welcome, and she's always welcome, but thank you for coming.
Assemblymember
Thank you.
Cruz, we do have a question, a couple questions for you if you have time. The first one comes
I
from
do.
the community from Sumana.
Hi there. Yes, my name is Sumana. Thank you very much for joining us, Assemblymember Cruz. I have a question that has to do with New York State vaccine eligibility. Right now, New York State allows a lot of people to get the COVID vaccine who have underlying health conditions. This is great, including intellectual and developmental disabilities, including Down syndrome. But there's no clear list of which intellectual and developmental disabilities count. And I've seen a lot of conversation and confusion on social media about, for instance, whether autism counts and whether attention deficit hyperactivity disorder counts. And I actually called and contacted your office, and I'm hoping if you happen to know how that conversation is going, because I think it would have to be at the New York State level. And I also recognize it could be that it's not really worth taking care of clearing this up right now because maybe there'll be more eligibility for everybody coming so fast. But I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to what it would take to get that clarified, just because there are people who might be missing out on appointments right now who are eligible because they don't know.
Thank you for that question. As the proud sister of a young man with Down syndrome and the proud godmother of two children with autism, I think it's actually a key question to have an answer for. I am going to give you my personal email, and anybody who's here who has a follow-up question and wants to reach out to me, feel free to email me there. It's at Cruz. It's Cruz C, right? I never used my email. Yeah, it is. Cruz, C-R-U-Z. And then the letter C at nyassembly.gov. I will absolutely work with my team to get you that answer from the governor's office. And you're right, that answer has to come from them as to what actually constitutes, from the ones that you described, something that is part of the eligibility. I have had productive conversations with them, and so I hope that I can get you an answer within the week. But you're right, starting with the fact that probably in the next 2-3 weeks we're going to have even more add-ons to that eligibility. Perhaps we will see some updates with that.
All right. The next question comes from another board member, Mark Burmester. You're up.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Hello, Assembly member. My question is about the New York for All Act. It's a bill that would prohibit state and local law enforcement officers from collaborating with ICE so that state and local resources aren't going towards deporting our neighbors. I'm wondering, I guess, A, what's the status on that bill, if you know, and B, just encouraging you to do whatever you can to make sure that becomes law.
So a small secret, that bill actually was brought to me, but one of my colleagues already had a very similar bill, so I gave it to her and said, let's work on it together. So I have been working very closely with the NYCLU, with Assembly Member Karines Reyes and the other folks who have been fighting for it. I care very much about this because, as many people know, I used to be undocumented, but also because I helped write the city version of this bill. Right now, it actually passed our codes committee, and I believe it's now in Ways and Means. Once it gets through Ways and Means, because there is any bill that has some money allocated to it has to go through the Ways and Means committee. Once it gets through Ways and Means, it will hopefully make it onto the floor and it would pass. My suggestion is that you reach out to one of those organizations that's already working on the issue so that you could figure out how you can support the work that they're doing, because your representative, who's myself, or unless you live in Jessica Gonzalez Rojas' district, we're both supportive of this, so you don't have to convince us. But it's about working with them to figure out how you can support others.
Great, thanks for your leadership on this.
The next question comes from another board member, Frank Taylor.
Yes, hello, good evening, Ms. Cruz.
Mr. Taylor, how are you?
First of all, I'd like to wish you a very happy birthday.
Thank you. Today is my birthday celebration.
And the second part might be a little, happy birthday, first of all. And the second part might be a little painful because I'm going to talk about the air train, or I'd like to hear you expound on it, and also air quality in our district.
Okay, let's just say that there will be many development projects that have been pushed for by the governor that will probably receive a second look, and I'm hoping this is one of those. While I have the utmost respect for my colleague who represents that area, the air train as well as the air quality affects my neighbors, affects me. I could hear it from my own bedroom on the weekends when they redirect airplanes. And so I will be looking at this very closely because I have a feeling that a lot of the projects that were approved will probably get a second look, if you will. And I think that will be the opportunity for the community to have even more input and to push in another direction.
Any more questions? That's the final
Okay,
one.
yes, we do have one question from the community that asked that I ask the question. So it's not for me, it's from someone in the community. How old do you have to be to get tested for COVID-19? And if you are a minor or a younger person, do you need identification, or does a parent guardian have to be present?
So you can be a child. I've had my niece who is 3 years old, the baby's 3. Yeah, has been tested for COVID with the mother's permission. If whoever is watching is concerned and would like to get tested, and perhaps their mom or dad isn't necessarily keen to this, and you want to reach out to our office, we can find out how that would work. But I do encourage, if that is your case, that you have a conversation with your guardian or mom or dad about getting tested, because I think that everyone should know their status. That is how we keep each other healthy.
Okay, and that is a wrap.
Well, thank you so much, Assemblywoman, and happy birthday. As Frank mentioned, it's always important to celebrate life, and we wish you all the best. And have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much. And to the community board, thank you so much for all the work that you do for our neighbors. And I hope to see you guys soon again. Thank you.
I hope to see you soon too. Take care. All right. And as mentioned, as I opened up the meeting, when we had our moment of silence, it's been a whole full year where we've been meeting virtually successfully. And I'd like to welcome one of our speakers who did a wonderful job a year ago, Dr. Machi from Elmhurst Hospital. He's coming to say a few words. Welcome.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's great to be back again. You sent a list of some questions, and I could read the questions and try to answer them if that would be good.
Yes, you can.
Okay. So the first question is, what was learned about COVID-19 after 1 year? And the answer is a lot of things were learned about it. I think the most important thing was we learned how genetically unstable this virus is. The similar viruses, like coronaviruses, used to cause the common cold. And then SARS came along, and then MERS came along, and now this. And as this virus has been studied a lot more because it's caused such serious illness, it turns out that it mutates very, very frequently. And that was a surprise to many of us, much more frequently than influenza does. So that was, if I had to pick one thing that was the most surprising about this virus. But another thing that, in terms of who gets sick from it, I think as we've all seen, there have been these successive waves of illness across the country, around the world, from this virus. And there's always been hope that there was enough immunity developing, or there was enough, weakening of the virus, and that has simply not happened. We're not seeing much of an impact of immunity to this virus, and that's kind of concerning as well. So the next question was, what are the current numbers of COVID patients entering the hospital? Now, I work at Elmhurst Hospital, and right now it varies from 1 to about 5 getting admitted every day, with about the same number we're seen in the emergency department and don't have to be admitted. We're not overwhelmed at this point as we were in the spring, but the numbers are very concerning. And I think that the spring break, Easter, Passover, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, all represent potentials for new spikes, especially as travel has begun to pick up. You may have read these stories that there's much more widespread air travel than there was just a couple of months ago. And I think as long as we continue to see these events where people don't properly use masks and social distancing, we're liable to see spikes again. And I'm sure many of you have seen the stories about people going to Florida and Texas for spring break, where you see thousands of people gathered together and nobody wearing a mask. So that's unfortunate, and we're holding our breath to hope that we don't see another actual spike. What we are seeing, though, in New York, and particularly in our communities of Elmhurst, Jackson Heights, and Corona, the numbers have come down a lot, but they've leveled off. They haven't continued on down. We still see an unacceptable number of people who are infected with this in our testing system every day. Are there concerns about the infection rates then in East Elmhurst, North Corona, and Jackson Heights? Yeah, as I say, for our community where we live and work, the rate of infection is higher than it is in most of New York. And we don't completely understand that. We know overall that's been a reflection of crowding in home living situations. But now we're trying to understand whether any of the new viral variants have something to do with that. And I'll come back to that in a minute. We want to, I think what we learned last spring, this is not a lesson that's hard to learn, but it has to be taught, I guess, is that crowding of households is extremely dangerous in terms of these respiratory viruses that can be transmitted. A couple of years ago, everybody was freaking out about Ebola. Ebola can't be transmitted this way. There were a handful of cases that ever made it to the United States, and yet it was headlines every day. This is an epidemic that occurs in crowded parts of the world, including in New York and including in our neighborhood, because it spreads so easily from person to person. Why are individuals who've received the vaccine still getting sick? This is good news, really, because they're not. People who've gotten the vaccine, it's been quite remarkable. After 2 weeks or 4 weeks after the second dose of the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine, virtually nobody has been hospitalized with COVID. And that was a surprising outcome that we weren't really sure we were going to see. And that is why it's so important to continue to move ahead with these efforts to get everybody vaccinated who is willing to be, because the vaccine really does work. Now, you're asking what are the differences between the 3 vaccines that are currently on the market? There are 3 that are used in the United States right now. The one from Moderna, the one from Pfizer, and the one from Johnson & Johnson. The ones from Moderna and Pfizer are basically identical. Neither of those viruses of those vaccines have any virus in them. They don't have any active replicating piece of the virus in them. What they have in them is the ability to make the spike protein, which is a key part of the virus, after they're injected. The messenger RNA that carries that gene to make the spike protein almost immediately disappears, and your body starts accumulating lots of the spike protein, and that allows your body to block the virus from entering your cells. And that strategy, there have been a lot of questions about how quickly the vaccines were rolled out. And what we've learned is that technique, that technology was really well known for decades. And that's why both Pfizer and Moderna were able to put in their applications to get patents for their vaccine back in March. They already had vaccine like this. The other vaccine in this country, Johnson & Johnson, it's a vaccine that's similar to the one that they created for the Ebola outbreak in Africa. That vaccine was extremely effective as well. It's a little bit different, that it has in it an inactive virus, an adenovirus that's used as a carrier to bring into the cell the material that leads to the creation of the spike protein again. So it's the same final step. The adenovirus in that one, and I've heard concerns about it, is that contagious or anything? It is not. It's absolutely not harmless at all. It's just a different technique for a vaccine. And just like the other 2, as I said, this was developed actually before Ebola, but it was used a lot during the 2012-2013 outbreak in Africa. So there's a lot of experience with that type of vaccine. Now, one thing that we're really fortunate about in this country so far is the vaccines that have gotten FDA approval are just those 3. And there hasn't been any major problem with any of them. In fact, they all look more or less equally effective. As you may have heard, the AstraZeneca vaccine is running into problems in Europe and other parts of the world because of side effects, particularly clotting. And they've lifted the restriction on it again, but These vaccines don't seem to have any of those particular side effects. The vaccine side effects that we do see, and I've gotten the vaccine myself, after the first dose of the Moderna or Pfizer vaccines, typically you don't have any side effects. It's after the second dose. After the second dose, it's not unusual to have fever, muscle aches, kind of a flu-like illness for a day or two. And that's not pleasant, but it's also a good sign because it indicates that your body is actually accumulating antibody to the virus from the first dose. So I would encourage everybody who's having any doubts about getting the vaccine, as soon as you're able to get it. We have, I appear on a show every Friday that has a huge audience of Hispanic and African American people living in New York. And there's still a lot of vaccine hesitancy, and we understand the reasons for that. But these vaccines have turned out to be actually quite remarkably safe and effective so far. Now, the next question is, the J&J vaccine I didn't mention. It's a vaccine that has, it's one shot, not two, and it has about the same type of side effects with that one shot that the second dose of the other two have. So local pain, some fever, but just for a day or two. And as was said a little while ago, these side effects, they can be a nuisance, but they're a lot better than COVID itself is. COVID is still killing about 1,000 people a day in the United States, and there is concern that we're going to see another peak soon. So what is herd immunity, and will we really reach herd immunity? Herd immunity is reached when enough of a population is immune to an infection that you can prevent significant individual-to-individual transmission. So let's say everybody on this call was immune to chickenpox, and I had chickenpox. And I walked into a room where you all were. None of you could get chickenpox from me. You couldn't get it from me. You couldn't bring it home. You couldn't transmit it to anybody. That is what herd immunity means. I got chickenpox, but you can't. Now, one thing we don't know is how much of the population has to be immune to this virus, coronavirus, in order to get that kind of herd immunity. And you see estimates that are, above 70%, really, and some as high as 90%. And we don't really know the answer to it, but it's in that range. Many more people than have currently been vaccinated will have to be vaccinated for us to get herd immunity, so we can all feel safe from this. And one problem that we have, of course, if they could have vaccinated everybody on day one, we would have herd immunity immediately. But there have been so many obstacles to that, mostly the supply of the vaccine, the distribution system for the vaccine, people hesitant to get the vaccine. So we all have to keep in mind that we have to encourage not only ourselves and our family, but our community members, if we're willing to do that, to get vaccinated when their turn comes. So it's not clear yet whether we will achieve herd immunity. So if we don't, what we're liable to end up with is a country where there are outbursts of this infection going on, kind of regularly. And that may be a major problem with air travel, with state-to-state travel, et cetera. So, if any of this is sounding a little bit concerning to you based on what you're hearing in the press, I don't want you to be overly concerned, but I do want you to be wise to the fact that we're really still at the beginning of this. This is a year old with a new virus that we never dealt with before and with new vaccines. And it is a very, very dangerous virus. We know we've lost more people to this than we lost in World War II. So, it's really important to stay abreast of this information. And if you haven't been vaccinated, to think hard about getting vaccinated when it becomes available to you. Will booster shots be required? Well, that's another piece of good news, actually. A paper came out just today from the Mayo Clinic, where they found that they studied thousands of people who've been vaccinated. And what they found is, in addition to getting an antibody reaction to the vaccine, there are many other elements of the immune system which are stimulated by the vaccine. And it looks because of that the vaccine may actually be protective for years rather than months. This is different from naturally occurring infection, which appears to be effective only for months. So it's another reason to get vaccinated. And it was really startlingly good news, even for me, that the vaccine looks that good. But will there be a need for boosters? That's They're still working that out. It depends on that question, whether the vaccine causes immunity to last. It also depends on whether we begin seeing these variant strains that you've heard about that are maybe resistant to the vaccine. So booster shots may have to be developed to address those variants to keep this under control. Should people with allergies take the vaccine? The general answer to that question is yes. When they looked at the first 2 million people who got the vaccine, only 8 of them had a major allergic reaction requiring hospitalization or an EpiPen. And that's about the same as it is for flu vaccine. So a major reaction, and we have this discussion every year when we start vaccinating our staff against the flu, it's not that you had a fever once after a vaccine, it's that you really required medical care after getting a vaccine. And that turns out to be extremely unusual. So it's important to look at your history, look at your background, talk to your doctor if you're not sure what the significance of your history is. If you find you carry an EpiPen, that may be enough of a reason to question whether you should get the vaccine safely, and you can ask your doctor about that. But most allergies are not significant enough to prevent you from getting the vaccine against this deadly disease. After being vaccinated, should we still practice social distancing in a work environment? Yes, for now we should. But there's another light in the end of the tunnel on that one, and that's that as more and more people have been vaccinated, and they look at how much virus is being shed by people who get infected anyway, they don't get sick, but how much is being shed by those people who don't get sick because they've been vaccinated. And with time after vaccination, the amount that you shed goes steadily down. So it looks like in a few months, we'll be able to say much more clearly whether masks and social distancing will remain necessary. Now, masks are close to my heart because we've had absolutely no flu season this year, and that's because of mask wearing. In the past, we've had maybe 20 to 80,000 deaths from influenza every year. We didn't see that this year. So we may decide that masks are a good thing to keep wearing anyway. But in terms of preventing COVID, they might not be as necessary in a few months as they are now. Do we really know how long the vaccine will last? We don't, although as I say, the data that came out of the Mayo Clinic looks really promising that the vaccine has an effect that will last. We're going to know more and more about that over the next few months in the millions of people who've actually been vaccinated to look for a response to the vaccine. When eating in public restaurants, is it safe to remove your mask? Well, this is tricky because everybody knows there are different kinds of restaurants. There are restaurants that have good air handling and there are restaurants that don't have good air handling, and you can't tell them apart often. So if you're eating in a restaurant without a mask, you're at a riskier state than you would be if you were eating outside without a mask. Now, spring is coming. If we can hold off and try to limit our contact with restaurants and crowds, that would be good. I saw a restaurant a couple of weeks ago, and everybody in there, every adult in there, was not wearing a mask, and they were all sitting close together talking right to each other. And that's human nature. It's easy to understand why that would happen. But before we all become comfortable with that, I think we have to remember that outdoor dining is safer than indoor dining, and wearing a mask, even if you're just talking through it but not eating, is always better than just taking it off for an hour or two while you have dinner. And finally, what about the proposed pill to drink when you get COVID-19? I wasn't sure which pill they were talking about. The one I'm aware of is molnupiravir, which is an experimental drug. It's not FDA approved yet. And that's the one? Good. And in early studies, if you give it to people who are symptomatic with this, it begins reducing the amount of virus in those people relatively quickly after 5 days. So this may turn out to be a helpful strategy as we get further along in this, with fewer and fewer people needing to be hospitalized and more people who do need treatment treated at home, where this could be considered for them. But I have to caution you, because whenever you hear that there is a preliminary study of something, obviously you have to wait for more information than that. And, a preliminary study, there are many drugs, many vaccines, many types of treatments that have reached that stage and look good, and in the end look bad. There are 64 different companies that have been working on a vaccine. And so far, at least in the West, only 4 of them have actually been able to market a vaccine. So it's interesting to follow these things, but I think that one needs more time to mature. And one other thing that I'll point out before I stop is that with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, as they followed people out after they got it, initially it looked like it was about maybe 70% effective compared to 94, 95% for the other 2 vaccines. As they follow people out with that beyond the 28 days that they were looking at for all 3 vaccines, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine reaches the same level of protection after a couple more weeks as the other 2 vaccines did. So, we're one of the really good things, if there's any good in any of this, is that vaccines were developed that are safe and effective and hopefully will be made much, much more available and much, much more convenient very soon. So let me stop there and see if there are any questions.
We actually do have some questions. The first one comes from board member Lobsang Salaka. Lobsang? Lobsang, are you there? Okay, maybe he'll pop in a minute. I'm going to pass it to Frank then. Frank Taylor, board member. Go ahead.
Hello, Doc. Very, very nice of you to come to the board. It is appreciated with the information. I do believe in the vaccines, but my question is this. The 3 vaccines are going at 90, 90, and 66%, supposedly. Johnson & Johnson being 66%. Are these vaccines effective against the new strains? That's the first part of my question. The second part is the undertaking of the government. These vaccines were all done under emergency preface. So a person, when they take the vaccine, they have no recall of any law. There's no lawsuits. You can't sue these people until 2024. Is that a concern in America? Thank you, Doc.
Well, yeah, obviously I'm uncomfortable with that concern as you are. And I think it was all part of trying to get the vaccines out quickly and having companies, in this country and most of the world, we're stuck with private companies that we depend on to create medications and vaccines. And that was how they got the, rapid development of these things. I don't have any strategy about that one, but I agree with you that it is a major concern, and it's, going to remain a concern as long as things continue to work that way. And I think in our country, I've had projects in Ethiopia and in Russia, and in those countries, there is so little access to, these were HIV-related projects that I ran, to any kind of appropriate care, that you come back to this country where the drug companies are distributing things and making these things available at a cost. And it's hard to believe that there isn't a middle ground somehow, where inexpensive, effective vaccines and medicines could be distributed to everybody with no liability. But anyway, long discussion, I guess. Now, what was the first part of your question again?
The first part, Doc, was the strains. They're coming up with 3 or 4 different new strains. Are these going to be effective? The shots that we're getting now, are they going to be effective? And just full disclosure to you and the board, I'm one of the guys that had COVID. I actually died and came back. I got very good at Long Island Jewish Hospital. So just full disclosure.
Yeah, well, the strain that seems to be moving quickly in New York is the New York strain. It started in New York, and that one seems to be effectively blocked by the vaccine. The one that is global more is the B117 strain that started in England or was first identified in England. And it is projected that that one will take over in New York within the next few weeks. In fact, last week, if you add up those 2 variant strains, they accounted for 51% of all the infections in New York. So we've already hit a majority of the infections are caused by these new and variant strains. So what does that mean? Well, the vaccine didn't cause them because they all arose before there was a vaccine. The concern is that they may be resistant. Now, when vaccines have been studied against those strains that we know are circulating in the United States, the vaccine is as effective. All 3 vaccines are effective against all of them. They're not as effective as they are against the native strain, but they're effective enough to produce no symptoms, no hospitalization, no ICU, etc. Now, we're skating on thin ice, though, because the next set of variants that appear may be a result of the vaccine. and these may be specifically vaccine-resistant strains. There's a strain in South Africa that is resistant to one of the monoclonal antibodies and one of the vaccines already. So this is another reason why rolling out the vaccination campaign quickly is really important, because those variants, those mutants that could be dangerous, only develop in people who've already been infected. They don't develop in thin air. So these variants are something we're keeping a close eye on. At the city hospital system, we started monitoring this, and we are aware of what variants we're beginning to see in people coming to the EDs. And I can tell you so far there's nothing alarming that we've noted, but we'll have more and more information about that over the next weeks and months. But it is a concern. It's something to keep your eyes on, and we'll certainly be keeping our eyes on it for you.
Thank you, Doc.
All right, the next question comes from the community. Reverend Kathleen Williams. Kathleen?
Yes, thank you for taking my question. I did want to just clarify. First of all, thank you, Doctor, and everyone for this meeting. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Very, very valuable information, and I'm very grateful for it. I just wanted to, before I ask my question, clarify. I think you just said that some of the strains that you're seeing, the resistant mutant strains, are only present in people who have had the virus. And does that mean people who have had the virus who have not been vaccinated? I'm not sure I caught that.
Here's how it works. If you have the virus, it typically causes an illness that lasts about 10 days. Now, there are people who are relatively immunocompromised, in which that viral infection can last weeks and weeks and even months. In those people, the virus has a chance to begin to mutate. It only does that in a person. But as we identify people who are medically compromised like that, we're looking for why they get really prolonged infection with the virus. And that's one of the good things about the current vaccination strategy, where it's including lots of people who have chronic medical conditions who may fall into that category. So what I'm saying is, if you're not immunocompromised and you got sick with COVID, even if you got very sick, but you began to recover after 10 or 14 days, you would not be spreading variant strains. But if you didn't recover, or if you recovered a little bit and continued to have symptoms for months after that, you very likely would be spreading variant strains. All this will be solved once we have vaccinated the majority of people and reached herd immunity, but we're far from that right now.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. So I wanted to. I am actually a COVID survivor, thank God. I was sick for, as you said, very sick for about 14 days, and not hospitalized sick, though I was able to stay home. But I did lose taste and smell and never recovered it. So I don't know if that's one of the symptoms that you mentioned. I read an article recently that's saying that mentioned there's the possibility that some of the long haulers are recovering from the symptoms of the long haul symptoms of the COVID-19 virus after having vaccination. Have you heard anything about that, or any?
Yeah, I've heard exactly what you just said, that it may be a third of people who get vaccinated and have long hauler symptoms have improvement. Now we have to try to figure out what that means, because we don't think they have active viral infection anymore. And the first part of your statement, where you lost your sense of taste and smell and it hasn't come back, that's not considered a symptom reflecting active viral replication. And honestly, we don't really understand what that symptom means. And we're hoping that it will come back in everybody, but we don't understand. But it doesn't mean that you're at risk of transmitting variant strains. That much we're pretty sure about. But yeah, the data, it was really kind of shocking that getting vaccinated caused improvement in symptoms in about a third of people so far.
All right, Kevin, the next question.
Yes, Lobsang, are you able to unmute and ask your question? Otherwise, I will ask it for you, since you'd put it in the chat. Okay, this question comes from board member Lobsang Slaka. Before the crisis, Lobsang asked the CEO of the hospital if the hospital was ready to face the challenges, but when COVID-19 arrived, the hospital was overwhelmed. Do you think the hospital was not ready to address possible overwhelming crises?
Yeah, well, I think it certainly was not. Our hospital, Elmhurst Hospital, we had plans for various surges of various types, but no one had ever seen anything like this before. We reached a point where over 150 patients were in ICU beds in our one hospital. That normally we have 12 ICU beds, so we had to rearrange things. We had to get staff from other places. All 4 branches of the military came to help because no one really expected the size of the surge that was seen in New York and particularly in Queens. Now, what we've done since that time to deal with the next surge, which came in the fall, was to develop a system of level loading. We have 11 public hospitals in New York, and we have a system where daily people are transferred between those hospitals. Not convenient for anybody, but at least it keeps one hospital from getting overwhelmed. But so far, what's kept us from getting overwhelmed again is the surge has not been as bad as it was in the spring. I mean, I've been at Elmhurst for 40 years. I took the AIDS program on and ran it for 25 years. I have never seen anything like what I saw last spring. The number of sick people, the number of people who needed really elaborate medical care immediately. And I don't think there was any reason to think we were about to see that. The data from China, which we started to hear about in late December and early January last year, sounded, significant, but not like that. And that's why New York became the global epicenter of this. And it's probably the restriction on travel that did as much to reduce the impact on New York as anything else did. So far, the second surge, which we saw in the fall, was not as bad as the first surge in New York. Nationally, it was much worse than the first surge, and many states had lots of cases and they were buried by them. And we reached many weeks where they had more than 5,000 deaths per day from this. Now we're down to about 700 deaths per day, and we're hoping that we're not going to see another surge, but we're preparing for it. We have much more latitude in doctors we can call in and in facilities we can offer people. But one thing that we can't get back is during that period where we had to use basically every square inch of the hospital to take care of desperately sick people, we had to close our clinics. We had to genuinely disrupt outpatient care. And now we have to decide, has it been restored adequately? And can we protect it going forward? Now we are. We have full service hospital again. We have relatively few COVID patients. But it's something that really caught us by surprise at how quickly it happened. And we want to be sure that we don't have patients who are lost in all of that. So long answer, we have a lot of planning going forward.
Well, Doctor,
I actually have,
go ahead
can
with
I
your
take
question.
the fourth and final?
Of course, go ahead.
Spot? Thank you, Dr. Messi. My question actually relates to the topic that you just mentioned. They estimate that COVID arrived in New York City in mid-February, being that the first case was documented on March 1st. But do you believe that COVID was actually here before mid-February?
Yeah, I do. In fact, I was working with a medical intern in January, and she developed a very persistent fever, cough, illness, and she was tested for flu. It wasn't flu. And in retrospect, quickly in retrospect, after the cases began to pile up in New York, it really seemed like that was a case. Now, she was young and otherwise healthy. She didn't get desperately sick. But I think, anybody who tries to say, okay, this is when it started, that implies that you were testing everybody all along. And as we all know, even the testing for COVID was not good at all in our country for weeks and weeks after we knew we had an outbreak. So I'm pretty sure it started earlier, at least as early as January, and possibly earlier than that. But what we do know is that over the past year, after the past 13 months, the number of deaths in this country from anything has spiked dramatically. And it didn't spike until the beginning of February last year, and it went up and up and up, and it's come down a little bit, but a tremendous spike in deaths. That was primarily due to COVID. So by looking at a graph like that, you can be pretty confident that there wasn't a lot of fatal COVID going on in December, November, et cetera, that it came on as a tremendous surge.
Doctor, we really appreciate you coming and the wealth of information that you shared, and we thank all the doctors and nurses and staff at Elmhurst Hospital, and please thank Atia again for linking us up to make sure that you will come to the meeting today, and again, all the best. And as you mentioned, everyone, please consider getting vaccinated because we cannot go through what we did 365 days ago. It was horrible.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for listening.
All right, have a great day.
Thank you,
All
Bob.
right. Ms. Reed, the speaker from the Gotham Health COVID Center of the Excellence, can you identify yourself?
Hi, I'm Anastasia. How are you?
Hi, can you turn on your camera, please?
I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of the issues with the camera earlier when I was trying to log on. I'm so sorry.
That's
I
okay.
should have it fixed. I should have it fixed for the next session.
That's all right. So go ahead. Welcome, and we're so excited to have this center in our neighborhood. I heard it's beautiful, and we're interested to hearing all about it.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. So I'm also joined by one of our other community liaisons, Neba Hidalgo. If she can, I don't know, if unmute herself and say hello. But so our new Gotham Health. Oh.
Wait, hello, who's that? Is that Ms. Hidalgo?
Ms. Hidalgo, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Ms. Hidalgo. Welcome.
So the new Roosevelt site is a part of Mayor de Blasio's plan to open 3 COVID-19 centers of excellence. They will be treating the long haulers, people who have had COVID-19. We've already opened one in the Bronx. The Queens location is our second one, and we'll be opening another one in Brooklyn, 815 Broadway. So this new site, like I said, is going to be primarily used for long haulers. However, it is a health center that's going to offer an array of services that cover pediatrics, primary care, optometry, dentists, podiatry. We have mammograms, mammogram machines, x-rays. We have a fully developed OBGYN as well as women's health center. So a lot of people, these are all the services that we'll have. Right now, we are offering primary care. So we have adult medicine. That is the first thing that we're offering. We only brand newly opened 2 weeks ago. We've had a really small, soft opening, a small open house. But we're planning another open house for everyone to come in and do tours. We accept anyone from the community who just wants to see the health center. These are beautiful state-of-the-art health centers with completely updated and new technology. It kind of reimagines what getting services from a city facility looks like. One of the things with New York City Health and Hospitals, Gotham Health, is we have a program called NYC Care. So if you are undocumented or you don't have the ability to pay for health insurance, you can gain health care through our NYC Care program. We have financial counselors on Gotham Health staff who assist people with signing up for NYC Care as well as other insurances that they may qualify for. So another thing is we'll have COVID-19 testing. At the moment, we don't have a testing testing on site. We have self-swabbing on site right now. So we would be mailing that out for individuals who would like to get a self-swab when they come in. As more time goes on, we'll have more services joining our team. And so, as more information comes my way, I will definitely share that with the community board. I put mine and Nilba's information into the chat. So if you're interested in and you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me or Nilba. We have the ability to make appointments for anyone. And if you would just like to stop in, say hello, see the health facility, we would love to have you. We have masks, hand sanitizers, chargers, a whole bunch of giveaway items that we give the community. You can also probably find any one of our team members on the streets canvassing and talking to the community. So yeah, I'll open the floor for any questions. I don't want to hold anyone up, but
thank you. The first question comes from board member Nuala Doherty. Nuala?
Hi, I'm so excited to have the Roosevelt Clinic there. I think it's great. I've been there. It's a beautiful facility. When will it open up fully? When will we have the dentist and the mammograms and the pediatrics? When do you expect it to be kind of open fully?
So with how we've seen the Bronx site kind of opening up, I might be closer, I don't want to say anything definitely, it might change, but hopefully by the beginning of the summer, we should have most all of the services available. But like I said, I don't want to put a date on it quite yet, just because everything's so new. Our current provider that is there is our chief medical officer. So, we're right now just in the process of onboarding all of our doctors. But like I said, I will let everyone know as soon as all of the services become available.
And I know we call it the COVID Center of Excellence, but anyone can go for any medical condition, is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have asthma, cancer screening, dental, diabetes, family planning, heart disease, mental health screenings, high blood pressure screenings, a lot of lung care. So because of the long haulers, we have pulmonology and cardiac care. That is something that is offered at this health site. It's to take a lot of the pressure off of Elmhurst Hospital. Like we have, this health site. So if you need an appointment or you need to be seen for just like a checkup or things like that, please feel free. We have all of these other services. It's not just for the long haulers.
And what about translation services?
We actually have to move on to the next question. Thank you, Nuala. The next question comes from Board Member Toy Washington Simon.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my question, and you kind of answered it a little bit by mentioned that it's self-swabbing, the testing. But the question that I had was in terms of, again, with minors, it was brought to my attention that there were a set of minors who had gone to Elmhurst Hospital and they were directed to go to the clinic for testing. But both sites actually turned them away because they did not have identification. So just looking for some clear guidance on what is the policy in place for if minors are looking to go get COVID testing, but they may not have identification or their parents may not accompany them, because we know there are some youth who are, really concerned about their health and their parents may take a different position and they want to get tested. I'm looking for some clear guidance on that.
Absolutely. So that question was brought up to me a little earlier, and we are in the process of making sure that I have the correct answer for you, because it might differ for certain locations. I don't want to say anything, but we usually would need some sort of identification, whether it's a photo ID, but obviously there's special cases. So I understand that the children that were turned away were part of ACS. And
Correct.
So there's other forms of documentation that we do accept, and I want to make sure that I give you the list of those documents, because I know that there's special cases like that. If somebody doesn't have a form of ID, what other things that we can accept. We definitely don't want to close our door to anyone, especially with COVID-19 testing. We want to make sure that everyone's getting tested properly and we have accurate results. So I should have that answer to the community board tomorrow morning. My director at the moment is looking into it, and she just, we're just getting all the paperwork right now in order.
Yeah, because we were very concerned about that, because as Toy mentioned, those young people eventually were able to get tested and they were COVID-19 positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And that story, that's terrible. We do not want to turn away anyone. Like I said, there's a lot of special cases of people not having identification. So I just want to make sure that we have a list of documents that we can accept. And so that everyone is aware of what you can bring, especially in those types of situations.
Thank you so much for answering that question. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sorry it wasn't more of like a concise answer, but I will definitely
I do understand.
have like a real answer
No, I do
tomorrow.
understand. You were very clear that your director is looking into that and you'll have an answer by tomorrow. So that works for me. At least I know you're working on it, so I understand.
Okay, so the next question comes from Board Member Mukith Chowdhury.
Hi, Anastasia, thank you that you attended today. I must declare and clearly make a statement. During the opening ceremony, I was directed by our chairperson, Renata English, to attend this opening ceremony. And I must say, Anastasia was showing me all details all the places which are ready for service. So I am welcoming her on behalf of our chairman, who was so pleased to send me there. Thank you, Anastasia.
No, thank you so much for joining and taking a tour. I'm sorry I wasn't able to give a much larger tour. During our open house, we had Telemundo come in, and so they kind of cut our abilities to really walk around the facility. But, you know, please come in again. I'd love to show you the rest of the facility. And as more providers come on, you know, like all of our providers love meeting the community members, and we have so many events that we're in the process of planning. We have a day of action that we're working with other community organizations. You know, get people signed up for vaccinations, and get people signed up for doctor's appointments. And so all those other events I will also be able to send out to you once we have more details on them. But we have a more in-depth open house happening April 18th, I believe. So please, everyone, would love for you to join.
All right, well,
Thank you very much. Thank you. I will.
Okay, Kevin,
We
go
have
ahead.
we have just one final question in the queue, and that comes from from the community, Margaret Flanagan. Margaret, you're up.
Thank you. I heard you mention mental health services, and I was wondering if addiction is included in that, and in particular, if you could work in those services for folks without identification to go along with the earlier question, particularly because we have a population of homeless and day laborers encamped along the BQE. And it really seems things like alcoholism are the gateway that's preventing them from, you know, elevated services and stuff like that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not, like I said, we're not really 100% sure what the scope of certain services are going to be, just because it is such a new site. In terms of mental health rehabilitation, I will definitely, you know, we're writing all of this down. I'm going to bring this all up to our director, and hopefully we'll have like a more in-depth answer for you. This, you know, hopefully we have, our other sites do have like rehabilitation and addiction services in terms of like mental health. And so hopefully this site will be able to address those things. Each site is kind of like specific to the community. These are really community-based health facilities. So it's supposed to reflect the issues or the mental and the health issues that reside within the community. So if you're saying that alcoholism and rehabilitation is something that you need, that's something that we can explore and, you know, bring up to the rest of the team.
Thank you.
All right, we have one final question from Ms. Reed. If you can unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Good evening and welcome. Welcome to our neighborhood. I have a question from one of our board members who would like to know about your capability of working with patients with long-term conditions at your facility. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So the facilities are set up for the long haulers, for the individuals who are dealing with symptoms from COVID-19. At the moment, like I said, the first doctor that is there is our chief medical officer, and he's performing primary care. We will have pulmonology, cardiology, COVID-19 testing. We have supplemental oxygen machines. We have radiology, all of these other things that are really meant to deal with those symptoms. The radiology machines, everything, all of that is already set up. They're just onboarding some more providers at the moment. And so we'll be able to take in a large capacity. I mean, we've already seen, I think, up to 90 or so people in the past 2 weeks, something around that number. But, you know, we're really new to the area, especially our Gotham Health site. This is the first real Gotham Health site to like reside in Queens. And so it's going to take some time for these things to onboard, but we plan to be on top of, hopefully, a part of all of the board meetings just to consistently keep everyone updated.
All right, well, thank you so much. Ms. Reed, you have anything else?
Thank you. No, thank you.
All right, so thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you, and I will definitely make a trip down to see the facility.
Yes, please do. We would love to meet every one of you. You know, for you to meet the provider, the CEO, everyone, all of our higher ups are there, and they're really excited to meet the community members. So
Wonderful. Thank you. So our next speaker will be Miss Bernadette Nation from the Small Business Services, and she's been visiting our neighborhood, and she'll talk a little bit about that. So Kevin, can you please bring out Mrs. Nation's presentation?
Done.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Community Board 3 in Queens. My name is Bernadette Nation. I'm the Executive Director at the Department of Small Business Services. And our job is to assist the small business owner or the small business community when they suffer physical damages due to unforeseen incidents, such as the 74th Street commercial district's latest, recent fire. Myself and my staff, we're on 24-hour call with the Office of Emergency Management, and they alert myself of disasters that impact small businesses. They actually called me about 2 o'clock that morning about this fire, and the next day, well, that same day, but later on in the day, I deployed my staff to the site where they spoke to about 5 businesses. What I'm going to show you here is a quick PowerPoint presentation of the services that we provide. And as I'm presenting those services, I'll talk about what we did with the businesses on 74th Street. So Kevin, thank you very much. We could go to the next slide. As you see, this is just a really quick history about our emergency response unit and intergovernmental services. That's the unit that I oversee. We have a small staff, but they're very savvy New Yorkers, and we are experts at navigating government in order to help the business that was impacted to hopefully recover and try to help them to get back into business. This is just a quick, a short history of the unit that I oversee. I actually started in 1995, and I've been doing this ever since because I'm really passionate about helping small businesses that have either are impacted by disaster or have issues with government that we help them to try to resolve. So as you can see here, the program was created by Deputy Mayor Rudy Washington back in 1994. And the next administration was the Bloomberg administration. And when we have different mayoral administrations, the name just changes. So the name changed to Business Outreach Team Emergency Response, and now under de Blasio, the name is Emergency Response Unit and Intergovernmental Services. Next slide. Okay, our objectives. And one other thing, all the photos are photos that we took at disaster sites. So our objectives, SBS Emergency Response Unit visually assesses physical damages to small businesses and commercial corridors following a disaster. We help manage the deployment of SBS Business Recovery Services. We coordinate with city, state, and federal agencies to provide local to citywide relief. And we also work with businesses, workers, and the neighborhoods that are resilient in the face of a crisis. Next slide. Initial response. Now, as I explained, we were notified of the 74th Street disaster, the fire that impacted about 16 small businesses. So we respond. So our initial response is we meet with New York City Emergency Management and the other city partners, meaning NYPD, FDNY, Department of Buildings, and other first responders to identify the impacted business or business owner. And then we obtain the updates from the first responders and we communicate those updates to the impacted business owners at the impact site about the impact of the crises. And that's what we did with well, there are about 16 businesses. I know that I personally met with about 12 of them because the others we visited that site already 4 times. And we'll be going back tomorrow with Ms. Giovanna Reed on a walking tour. But we've spoken to most of the businesses almost every day, helping them with services. So we also I'm sorry. The next bullet, contacting affected business owner, which is what I just explained. We also liaise with the local elected and the community-based organizations, including the community board, to describe our role in their recovery and establish a point of contact. I'm very familiar with Community Board 3. I've worked with Giovanni Reed for as long as I've been doing this. And actually, about 10 years ago, there was another large fire in the office building on 37th Avenue in 74th, between 74th and 75th streets, which maybe some of you remember. And we helped businesses at that time also. Next slide, please. We address the immediate concern. So we update the business owners by communicating available and frequent information on the city emergency response efforts, building vacate orders, street openings and closures from multiple agencies. For instance, on 74th Street, as you know, there are a lot of jewelry store owners. Well, unfortunately, out of those 16 small businesses, 3 of them are jewelers. And we're working closely with Department of Buildings to, once the Department of Buildings works with the property owners, they're going to get engineers to shore the building up and make it safe so that we can help them to retrieve their items of importance, like money, or in this case, the safes that have thousands and thousands of dollars of jewelry in it, or some of the other businesses that have important items that we would hopefully retrieve it for them. Now, I don't do that. The first responders, the firefighters, police officers, and if it's safe, maybe the business owners will go in, but the business owners will let us know where these important items and valuables are, and then the firefighters will retrieve it for them, or the engineers. In the instance of the safes, they will have a cherry picker go in and pull the safe out. Okay, so we also coordinate in resolving issues with other city agencies on behalf of the businesses for utility support and other business deliveries, which I just explained, like retrieval of important items. We assist businesses with obtaining access to restricted areas to retrieve essential items and documents, which is what I just explained. The next slide, please. Thank you. Post-emergency services. We not only help the business owner at the site with updates and retrieval and other important information, but we try to hold business recovery meetings. But because of COVID, we can't hold a meeting at a venue like we did 10 years ago with the office building on 37th Avenue that had a terrible fire, where at that time we had a business recovery meeting at the Jewish Community Center, a couple of blocks down from that office building. But because of COVID, we can't do that. These are photos of some of the meetings we had in other boroughs, As a matter of fact, the first photo you see is on Liberty Avenue, where there was a large fire about 5 years ago. And the bottom, actually, they're all from Queens. Flushing, Liberty Avenue, and the last corner of that photograph is in, Francis Lewis Boulevard area. I think that was also Flushing, because Flushing is very large. Okay, so we expedite, here's some of the services that we do post the emergency. We help to expedite the fire report. When the fire report is ready, we get it right away and we email it to all of the business owners. That fire report is how they're going to get their insurance claim. Their claim will not be, their claim check will not be distributed until their insurance company receives the fire report. We accelerate that fire report as soon as we can get it. The fire report is based on the fire marshal's investigation. Currently at 74th Street, the fire marshals are investigating that impact site to find out the source of the fire. We don't know what the source of the fire is. I never listen to rumors. I only listen to what the fire marshals conclude and what the fire report states. Again, that fire report is given to the business owner right away, and they send it, we tell them to send it right to their insurance company. We plan business recovery meetings, which I explained, and that's what the photographs there show. And at those meetings, we bring in additional services available to the businesses, and they include free legal advice. That means we have pro bono attorneys that come and help the business owners understand their lease agreement. Now, at this fire, there are only about 3 to 4 business owners that have a valid lease. All the others, they have a letter that says that address is where their space is because they're subleasing. And that may also be why a lot of them don't have insurance, because it may be, I'm not an insurance broker, but it may be difficult to get a insurance policy with a sublease in a flea market style commercial space. If they were subleasing a single space, maybe they would probably attain insurance. But it doesn't matter if they don't have insurance or not. We try to help them as much as possible and within our constraints. So we help them with pro bono legal advice, with insurance. We are the liaison between them and the New York State Department of Financial Services. That is the agency that regulates the insurance industry in New York City. So as Congressmember AOC was saying earlier about if any of the insurance companies are biased to their customers, well, we help them to make a complaint to the state, and the state gets involved with the insurance company. And I've been doing this a long time, and I've had the state put pressure on those insurance companies, and their claim was always taken care of. So that is one of my pet peeves that I really don't appreciate, when insurance companies take advantage of their customers. And we try to help them with that. But it's the state, not the city, the state that regulates the insurance industry. But we work with that agency to help the small business owner. And we also help to provide financial assistance. Now, in this instance, we work with a not-for-profit or a CDC that has an emergency low-interest loan. The loan is at 3%. It's a bridge loan, and it's up to $30,000, and it helps the business until they, it'll help them maybe if they want to relocate and they find another a lease space, and they sign the lease, and now they have some operating money to start that business. If they're looking for more than $30,000, we link them up with there are 38 small business lenders that the Department of Small Business Services works with through our business solution centers. And I'm pretty sure some of you are aware of the Queens Business Solution Center. Well, we've already referred some of these business owners to the Queens Business Solution Center for larger loans, but for the emergency a business low interest loan, we've already linked about 7 to 8 of the 74th Street business owners to that resource to help them with their recovery. The next bullet says assisting with relocating a business to a temporary space or connecting them to a local organization that can help them with a permanent location. So we know that these small business owners may not have the funds to pay a real estate broker. Now, I can't act as a real estate broker because I'm a public servant, but we try to work with the local business improvement district, the BID, or local development corporation, or other CDCs that may know commercial property owners, and we try to refer them to that resource to help them find a space. But most of these business owners are actively looking for another space. We're working with about 5 of them right now who have found a space and are in the process of signing their lease. As soon as they sign the lease, we're going to link them with the business emergency loan at 3%. You get a loan anywhere in New York City at 3%. And it's designed for small businesses, and it's designed for immigrant small businesses or small businesses in LMI districts. The last bullet says we provide regulatory information to help businesses understand compliance with New York City rules and regulations. That is one of our main main services that we provide. We help them to understand the rules and regulations to be in compliance with whatever agency regulates their industry, like the restaurant industry, that's Department of Health. We make sure we try to help them. Excuse me.
We're gonna
I'm sorry.
Once you finish that thought, we're gonna start asking questions. Okay.
Okay. This is about the last slide anyway.
Okay.
So the bottom line is we're their liaison between they're trying to help accelerate any license or permits that they may need when they finally secure a lease and are in their new space. Next slide. I think this is it. Next slide. Excuse me. This deck is basically the services that we provide and what I spoke about for the last 10 minutes. So emergency updates, emergency legal advice, emergency business relocation, insurance claim support, emergency financing assistance, and government regulations and guidance, and how to stay in compliance. Next slide. Again, these are some of the services that we provide, and it actually mimics what I just spoke about. But these are the services that we, other than emergencies or physical disasters, these are some of the issues that we help small businesses with. And the agencies that we work with at the bottom, the ribbon at the bottom of the screen, those are the agencies that we work with to help small businesses with those intergovernmental services that you see on this deck. And next slide. Thank you, Kevin. Again, we work closely with our Business Solutions Center on some of the services that I spoke about and the services that are provided by the city. And those photos are of us. Wow, it's really funny. Most of these are Queens photos. The photo at the top, that's in near, I'm sorry, Astoria, with the, I think it's Astoria Neighborhood Association. And at the bottom, that was in the beginning of COVID in Chinatown, and there was a large fire there, and we gave a business recovery. It was right before COVID, so as you see, we were able to gather together, and about a month later, we went into the city's lockdown. And that actually the next step. This is how you get in touch with us. And you can go on our website to read some of the services that Department of Small Business Services provides to small businesses. We have several divisions and units there. And the last paragraph that says to resolve any issue by connecting to agencies or utilities, contact the Emergency Response Unit and Intergovernmental Services, which is our unit. And that's our phone number. But again, we're not in the office. So you can get in touch with us with the email. And all of the business owners at 74th Street have my cell number and my email and my staff cell number and email. And we've been, as I said, we've been dealing with about 12 of the businesses and probably more every day since this disaster. And we will be helping them, I know, for a few months.
All right, Bernadette, thank you.
You're welcome. Until we help all of them get a space.
Our first question comes from Senator Jessica Ramos's office. Mary Jabaya, you're up.
Hey, thank you so much for your presentation. We have been also working with those businessmen, and some of the conditions were like different than regular. Like one of the businessmen didn't, the business wasn't 2-year-old, and I got to know from the businessman that his business did not qualify any of those existing programs. In that case, what do you do, and what is your suggestion? Besides that, I would also request to leave your contact information in the chat so that our office can also be in touch with you too, if situation arises.
No problem. I'm sorry, what's your name? I missed
Mary Jubaida.
Mr. Jubaida. Thank you for your question. Which business owner was this?
That is Kundan Jewelers.
Kundan Jewelers. Oh, well, actually, we're helping him. Number one, what the jewelers, the 3 jewelers is Kundan. There's 22 Carat, that's Mr. Patel, and then Harry Mystery. Okay, those 3 jewelers we're working closely with. Okay, one of their main concerns is retrieval of their safes, which I don't blame them. Okay, they're anxious, they're nervous. Their jewelry is in that damaged building, but the property owner is the main person. This is a private entity. This is a private structure. The property owners have been very evasive to us, but they're working with Department of Buildings. Technically, they don't have to speak to me, okay? If property owners are receptive, we try to help them as much as we can because that helps us to help the business owner. But if they're not receptive to us, which these property owners are, and they're not very receptive to their tenants, because the tenants have been complaining to us about their property owners. But what we're doing is that we're working closely with Department of Buildings, which put a vacate order on the building. No one can go in because it's dangerous. If any of the tenants go in, they may get hurt. The roof may fall down on them and kill them. We don't want that. Unfortunately, I've heard that some people have gone in. That is why NYPD is out there. Besides as site security to make sure no one tries to go in and burglarize the place. It's also to keep people safe. That's why there's a fence that the property owner had to put up, that Department of Buildings ordered the property owner to put up. And right now, the property owner and Department of Buildings, they're working, and they're working with the property owner's engineers. And hopefully, in a few days, they will go in and sure means to make the walls, to make the roof strong so that they can go in, the firefighters or the NYPD, and take out the business owners' valuables, okay? So
Brenda.
that's one of their main concerns.
Brenda, thank you so much for your thorough information. Thank you so much for visiting the business owners. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And again, thanks again.
Sure. That's what we're here. We're
That's
here
right.
to help
Thank
those
you for
small
your
business
phenomenal
owners.
job.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Edmund Rosenbaum?
I'm here. I was patiently waiting.
That's all the questions.
Okay. All right. Have a good night.
All right. Have a good day. Good evening.
Good evening. I was patiently waiting, but I'm not ready. Give me
Well,
2
you're ready
seconds.
now. Okay.
2 seconds only.
Well, we had a
Okay.
wealth of information, and board members, please, I don't know if you got to see, the link was sent to you around 7, a little after 7, with all the information in your folders and the reports. So you can focus on Edmund's report now. Go ahead, Edmund.
Okay, we have 3 applicants tonight. I'm going to call the first applicant. It is Friends Corner Cafe Incorporated, doing business as Latin Fusion Cafe, 8530 37th Avenue, Jackson Heights. This is an application for a full liquor license. Is the applicant present?
We are present. This is Frank Nalaveco, the representative, and I have the president, Janga Baum.
Hello. Would you be able to turn on your camera?
Hold on, 1 sec. Thought I had it. You see me?
Not yet.
Yeah. Technical difficulties. I don't know why.
Try it now.
Okay.
Okay, we see you.
Yeah, because I have to take a camera down. Go ahead.
Okay, good evening. We see you now.
Yes.
So
again, I'm the rep, and this is the president, Janga Baum.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
good evening. So just give us a basic overview of your business.
Okay, so we're at 85-30 37th Ave. That's the corner of 86th Street and 37th Ave. We are strictly a restaurant. There will be a sit-down bar with 10 seats, but it's being set up more for a waiting area for takeout orders. We'll have 16 tables with 46 seats. There'll be a sushi bar section seating 11. The hours of operation from Sunday through Wednesday, 12 noon to 11 p.m. You should scratch that. They want to do brunch on Saturday, Sunday from 10 a.m. And again, closing at 11 p.m. Thursday through Saturday from 12 noon to midnight. And that's that part of it. And I think that covers all the basics.
Okay, anyone have any questions? Please type in the chat to be acknowledged.
I have a question for Frank. Frank,
Mm-hmm.
did you mention that you guys are building a bar, standing a bar?
Yeah, there's currently a bar in place at the facility. They're just going to improve upon it. But again, it's seating for 10. If that ever occurs again, well, hopefully in the future. It's again a waiting area for deliveries, pickup, things like that. So it's again, the facility is not being set up as a bar lounge. It's a restaurant, strictly a restaurant.
You said it's a sushi bar, the 10 or 11 seats.
They'll have a sushi section. Yeah, they're gonna have, it's a mixed menu. It's a fusion of American style foods. The owners are from Tibet. They're gonna have some of their country's food, and they're gonna have the sushi also. It's a little bit of everything.
Okay, anyone else with a question, please type in the chat to be acknowledged.
Oh, okay.
Mark?
Hi there, thanks. I'm curious, how many people does your business employ? How many jobs do you have?
They're looking to hire at least 6 people at the start, and then they're gonna feel it out from that standpoint. He's got 3 other restaurants. He can maybe address who he has on his payroll at this point at the other facilities.
No, I don't need the details. I was just curious how many jobs you're bringing to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Frank?
Yes. How you doing, Frank?
Good.
Listen, you guys are a restaurant. You're bringing business to the area, which is very good. Can you just expound on the gentleman's experience so the board can understand it?
So he has 3 other locations within the area. He has 2 restaurants on Roosevelt Avenue, 74th Street, and 75. And then he has another restaurant on 61st Street, 2 blocks from Roosevelt. And he's had those businesses running since average 2015.
Good.
And one of them from 2012. Prior to that, he had a grocery store business in Nassau County and had a beer license with that facility. Now, his other restaurants, one of them just got approved on a beer and wine license, and he's pending another license at the 61st Street location. So we'll have, with this license here, that'll be 3 liquor style licenses.
Thank you.
Okay.
But
Anyone else, type in the chat if you have a question. Last chance before we move on. Okay, we'll take this up in executive session. Thank you.
thanks.
Okay. Next applicant is Pichardo Junction Restaurant Corp., 3464 Junction Boulevard in Jackson Heights. This is an application also for a full liquor license. Is the applicant present?
The representative attorney is present. I believe my clients have logged in as well.
I did see him on here before, yes.
Can you tell him to unmute himself?
Hi,
you're unmuted.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, very good.
And are both cameras on? One is dark and one is off.
Pedro, can you turn on your camera, please?
La cámara.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. So who will be doing the presentation? Representative?
Yeah, I'm the attorney. My name is Gene Anton.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Gene. Can you please turn a light on or something? You can't see it.
Okay, hold on.
Thank you.
Is this better?
All right, it's fine.
Is this better? Can you see me better now?
Thanks.
Okay.
Yes, that's good.
All right. Okay, so the new business is actually taking over, I think it was called Mr. Crab Inc. It was a seafood restaurant right there on the corner of Junction Boulevard and 34th or 35th. They're doing some renovations. They're gonna be hiring anywhere between 10 and 15 people, depending on how busy they're gonna be. We already submitted a stipulation to the community board, stipulating that we're gonna be closed at 1 a.m., last call at 12. There's not going to be a bar. It's all table service. I think there was going to be only recorded music. And I think that was the only other thing that they requested. But let me just take a quick look at the stipulation that we submitted. Give me 1 second. In the meantime, do you have any questions?
Anyone have questions? Please type in the chat to be acknowledged.
So we'll not have a stand-up bar. The operation, hours of operation are going to be from 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. daily. Last call would be 1 hour beforehand, only recorded music. And that's a stipulation that we agreed to with the community board. I think we were requested by the district manager.
This requested by the committee,
By the committee, yeah.
By the committee, okay.
the chair.
And
So-
and we submitted that in earlier today.
Yes, we received it.
Okay.
Okay, I do not see anyone typing in the box for any questions. So thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll take it up in executive session.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too.
Night.
Thank you.
Third and final applicant, La Cabana Argentinian Steakhouse Corp., doing business as La Cabana, 8607 Northern Boulevard in Jackson Heights. It's an application for a full liquor license. I see Mr.
Yes, hi, good
Fernandez,
evening.
and I do see your clients down there too. Okay.
Yes, they're here. My name's Isauro Fernandez. I represent the applicant, La Cabana Argentina Restaurant. Both principals are here tonight, Christian Toto and Victorina Rojas. They have a combined experience working in this actual restaurant for over 35 years. They are going to, once the restaurant reopens, continue the exact same Argentinian flair, the Argentinian steakhouse family gathering place that it's been for over 20 years. There's just a service bar. There is no actual, there are no actual seats at the bar. Again, the menu is going to be the exact same menu that they've had for the last 20 years. And we were finally able to get a letter of no objection. And so we're excited to be able to move forward a liquor license application.
Hey, if anyone has any questions, please type in the box to be acknowledged. Please type in the chat. Twice. Or 3 times. Okay, we'll take it up in session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Edmund. So Kevin, we're ready for executive session.
Okay.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Kevin. Again, board members, welcome to our March meeting. If you have not had the opportunity, check your email for our reports. And the first committee that will be up is the motions by committee. Oh, sorry. I call for a motion to adopt our agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Can you do me a favor and unmute Mr. Smith? Kevin, I can't find him right now.
Sure.
Thank you. All right, so motions by committee. Kevin?
Yes, who's up?
Business Echo? Edmund?
Usually I'm the only one up.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
ready.
the only one.
Well,
Edmund and Kevin.
most frequently every month. Okay. First application, Friends Corner Cafe Incorporated, doing business as Latin Fusion Cafe, 8530 37th Avenue, Jackson Heights. Application for a full liquor license. Motion is committee recommends approval for an on-premises full liquor license for this applicant. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Everyone, please refer to Edmund's report.
Yes, please do. Okay, we can call the question, Kevin.
Okay, this is for SLA motion number 1, Friends Corner Cafe Incorporated, doing business as Latino Fusion Cafe, located at 85-30 37th Avenue, Jackson Heights. This is for a full liquor license. The committee recommends approval, so a yes vote is for a yes, an approval. Kamblata. Ann Brown. Elba Buendia.
Yes.
Mark Burmester.
Yes.
Mr. Chowdhury.
No.
Heiko Corneliuson.
Hello?
Heiko?
Excuse me, who is this?
Wait.
Go ahead.
Okay. I didn't hear if Heiko actually responded.
And
I don't
he's
think
here.
he's here.
He was here earlier.
Yeah. Okay. Ship Das. Tony Davis Roberts.
Yes.
Vivian Dock.
You have to unmute her. Let me see, Vivian. Let me unmute Vivian. Go ahead, Vivian.
Yes.
Margaret Dossier. Renetta English.
Yes.
Mr. Gandhi. Mr. Gideon.
Yes.
Pastor Peter Haran. Lorinda Hooks.
Yes.
Mr. Hollader.
No.
Ebenezer Naboa. That's me, and I'm a yes. Joyce Julian.
Yes. Can you
Edward
hear me?
Kiernan. Yes,
Yes.
I hear you, Joyce. Thank you. Edward Kiernan is a yes. Thank you. Stephen Kalanick.
Yes.
Marta Leberton.
No.
Carlos Andre Lopez. Lisa Masulam.
Yes.
Ralph Moreno.
Not here today.
Richard Mullings.
No.
Laverne Nimmons.
Yes.
Veronica Ing.
He was here earlier.
Okay. Nuala Doherty.
Yes.
Philip Pappas. Esteban Peralta. Ladisla Perez. Dorothy Phelan. I watched her through the whole meeting. I know she's here.
I think she.
Okay.
No.
Megan Rockwell. Fausto Rodriguez.
Yes.
Jairo Rodriguez.
He's not on today.
Lancia Romero.
Yes.
Tammy Rose. Evan Rosenbaum.
Yes.
David Rosero. Lapsang Salaka. Jimmy Smith.
Yes.
Marlene Tapper.
Yes.
Frank Taylor.
Yes.
Arthur Tyler.
Yes.
Chanel Thomas Henry.
Yes.
Pat Thorpe is not here. Hamlet Wallace.
Yes.
Toy Washington Simon.
Yes.
Edwin Wesley. Okay. Just enough for a quorum. 24 yes, 4 no. The yeas have it.
Okay, thank you. Second applicant, Pichardo Junction Restaurant Corp., 3464 Junction Boulevard in Jackson Heights. Application for a full liquor license. Motion is committee recommends approval of an application for an on-premises full liquor license for this applicant, provided that a stipulation is signed, it has been, stating that the hours of operation will be 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. daily. There will be no stand-up bar, only recorded music will be played, and alcohol service will end 1 hour prior to closing on a daily basis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, no discussion. Okay.
Okay, this is for SLA motion number 2, Pichardo Junction Restaurant Corp. Located at 34-64 Junction Boulevard, Jackson Heights. This is for a full liquor license. The committee recommends approval, so a yes vote is a yes and is to approve. Alba Buendia,
Yes.
Mark Burmester,
Yes.
Mr. Chowdhury,
No.
Michael Corneliuson, Shiv Das, Sony Davis Roberts,
Yes.
Vivian Dock,
Yes.
Renetta English,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Gideon,
Yes.
Lorinda Hooks,
Yes.
Mr. Hollader,
No.
Kevin Yusnaboa, that's me, I'm a yes. Joyce Julian,
Yes.
Edward Kiernan,
Yes.
Stephen Kalanick,
Yes.
Marta Leberton,
No.
Lisa Masulam,
Yes.
Richard Mullings,
No.
Laverne Nimmons,
Yes.
Veronica Ing, Nuala O'Doherty, Nuala,
Yes.
thank you. Dorothy Phelan, Paso Rodriguez,
Yes.
thank you. Leoncio Romero,
Yes.
Tammy Rose, Edmund Rosenbaum,
Yes.
Lobsang Salaka, Jimmy Smith.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that Lobsang? Lobsang, okay, I got you as a yes. Got you. Marlene Tapper,
Yes.
Yes.
Frank Taylor,
Yes.
Arthur Tyler,
Yes. Yes.
Janelle Thomas Henry,
Yes.
Hamlet Wallace,
Yes.
Roy Washington Simon.
Yes.
Okay. 25 yeas, 4 nays. The yeas have it. The motion carries.
Okay, the third and final applicant, La Cabana Argentinian Steakhouse Corp., doing business as La Cabana, 8607 Northern Boulevard in Jackson Heights, application for a full liquor license. Motion is committee recommends approval of an application for an on-premises full liquor license for this applicant. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I'm just going to note that we have passed this a few times, and as the attorney had mentioned, the reason it didn't make it through the State Liquor Authority the last time is they were unable to get a letter of no objection. And now they have it. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we can call the question.
Okay. This is for SLA motion number 3, La Cabana Argentinian Steakhouse Corp. doing business as La Cabana, located at 86-07 Northern Boulevard. This is for a full liquor license. The committee recommends approval. So a yes vote is a yes and is to approve. Alba Buendia,
Yes.
Mark Burmester,
Yes.
Mr. Chowdhury,
No.
Sony Davis Roberts,
Yes.
Vivian Dock,
Yes.
Renetta English,
Yes.
Mr. Gideon,
Yes.
Lorinda Hooks,
Yes.
Mr. Hollader,
No.
Kevin Yusnaboa, that's me, I'm a yes. Joyce Julian,
Yes.
Edward Kiernan,
Yes.
Stephen Kalanick,
Yes.
Marta Leberton,
No.
Lisa Masulam,
Yes.
Richard Mullings,
Yes.
okay, Laverne Nimmons,
Yes.
Nuala Doherty,
Yes.
Castro Rodriguez,
Yes.
Leoncio Romero,
Yes.
Edmund Rosenbaum,
Yes.
Lobsang Salaka,
Yes.
you, Jimmy Smith,
Yes.
Marlene Tapper,
Yes.
Frank Taylor,
Yes. Yes.
Arthur Tyler. Arthur? Chanel Thomas Henry.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Arthur is yes.
Okay, and Chanel, I heard you as a yes. Pamela Wallace.
Yes.
Roy Washington Simon.
Yes.
All right, that is 26 yays, 3 nays. The yays have it. The motion carries.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, everyone. I just want to make note, with spring coming and the hope of better weather, we should be able to start undertaking our business outreach as was planned many months ago at the beginning of COVID and then when the weather got cold. So let's hope we warm up in April and we can get started.
And I look forward to that, Edmund Rosenbaum. Hello, everyone. How are you again? Before I get into the view from the chair, I just wanted to read a letter that was drafted by Community Board 11, and they would like the other 13 community boards to sign on to it. So I wanted to read the letter first and to get your approval that Queens Community Board number 3 can be one of the signatories on the letter. So this letter is in reference to the recent anti-Asian attacks and discrimination. And it states, as we are sure you are aware, there has been a rise of anti-Asian hate crimes in New York City and around the country since the start of the pandemic, including a recent attack in Flushing, Queens, on a female Asian senior citizen. The perpetrator of this cowardly and disgusting attack has thankfully been brought to justice by the NYPD Hate Crimes Division. But unfortunately, this type of racially biased crimes has become all too common. In the world's borough of Queens, we celebrate that we are the most diverse county in the planet with over 200 languages spoken here. We want our neighborhoods to be a shining beacons of diversity, inclusion, and what makes the United States of America such an incredible place. This kind of discrimination is totally unacceptable to us. We understand that this is not the first wave of racist or anti-immigrant sentiment to attempt to terrorize our neighborhoods. We feel it's important that we as at the community board level, being the governmental agency closest to the people, stand up and say with one voice that we have opposed this despicable behavior in the past and we fight against it now. And we will continue to do so as a community of neighbors forever. We also know that we are not alone in this fight, but with partners across law enforcement, our elected officials, civic associations, sister agencies, and fellow New Yorkers. We ask that the city not only be reactive, but proactive in addressing this problem by allocating resources and thoughtful coordination across agencies to ensure that hate has no home in America, in New York City, or even in our borough of Queens. We look forward to our leadership at all levels of government to do more to prevent these kinds of attacks and discrimination, and ourselves to do what we can to be the change we wish to see. So I'd like, if there's anyone has any comments, any concerns, or someone does not think that this letter we shouldn't sign as a community board, please let me know. Yes, Frank?
Sounds like a very good letter.
I think it's a very good letter. I think it's something that we should definitely champion. My only question is, I know right now it's the Asian community that's going through that, so we're all going through it. I think that we should have some language in there to say that it's not acceptable on all levels, all races, all cultures, all creeds.
Yeah, and there is a piece of it in the letter that does state that, but we'll ensure that we'll take, that's noted, Frank. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you.
Anybody else? Elba Bendia, All right, so
I'm
I will,
100% with that letter.
Frank said.
I agree.
okay, so we will sign on with the other 13 other community boards. So now I'll get into my view from the chair. And again, everyone in your folder, you have a lot of information you have in relation to video. Kevin worked on this very hard in regards to video conferencing etiquette. Please review that. There's information in your folder about the preliminary budget. As always, Queens is always the one that receives the least, right? So let me just go through my view. In the Broadway musical Rent, it has a song entitled Seasons of Love, which starts out by asking 525,600 minutes. 525,000 moments so dear. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure? How do you measure a year? In daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter, in strife. In 525,600 minutes, how do you measure a year in life? The last 365 days living with COVID at East Elmhurst, Jackson Heights, and North Corona have been difficult, acknowledging that we are the epicenter where 1 out of 9 residents have experienced COVID, and we have lost dear family members and friends. We still see food pantry lines stretched for blocks, and many are still looking for employment. Our small businesses have experienced financial losses, but many are still operating with the support of loyal customers. Finally, our young people felt the brunt of COVID, having to learn remotely and missing those milestone moments of graduation, school activities, and socializing with friends.
Yep.
Despite COVID, we have become innovative and learned how to operate in the new normal while still adhering to the Department of Health safety recommendations. There is a light at the end of the tunnel with the FDA approval of 3 vaccines, continuation of COVID-19 testing, implementation of the American Rescue Plan, which will provide assistance to individuals, businesses, states, and local governments. Again, I must express, I'm so proud of Queens Community Board number 3. We have been fully operational over the last year, and thank you to the hard work of Ms. Reed, Keisha, and Clara. It's truly appreciated. Thank you to the Executive Board, officers, committee chairpersons for leading their meetings. Thank you to you, Community Board 3 members, for fully participating in our monthly board meetings, committee meetings, distributing masks and shields, and volunteering your time for our community projects. So again, I'd like to wish everyone here a happy Women's History Month, St. Patrick's Day, Holi is coming up, Holly, and International Day of Remembrance of this transatlantic slave trade. So again, and there's some more information there, and we'll go through the reports from the other committees, but again, you all are all appreciated, and I'm happy to see those that were sick are back healthy and they're back in their true personalities, right? And that's a wonderful thing. Any questions for me? If not, I know that we're operating. We want to end by 10 o'clock. I'll send it over to Ms. Reed. But if you have any questions, remember I'm accessible via email, and you can also call me. Ms. Reed?
Thank you, Chair English. That was an outstanding report. Congratulations again for all the work that you have done, bringing Community Board 3 into the 21st century. I also would like to commend the members of the board for their hard work and partnering with other organizations and doing the outreach to improve the quality of life for our residents during these pandemic times. It saddens me that we still have food lines. It saddens me that our residents and constituents are still in dire need of our basic services. Something very important is the community board collaborates with all of the city agencies. So it's really important that if there are complaints or you know of conditions that need to be addressed, please feel free to call the district office along with calling 311 and your elected officials so we can get these matters addressed. It's very important that we all work together. I'd like to now talk about the top 10 complaints over the past 3 months, what those complaints are. Consistently, January, February, and March, the most reported complaint was blocked driveways. It averaged about 362 complaints per each month. Parking is another. Noise is another reported condition, and also heat and hot water complaints. Well, the other is unsanitary conditions. The sanitation department also gets a significant percentage of those complaints that we see. Commercial noise as well. I have furnished a list of all of the types of complaints that the district receives, and that should be in the folder. Further note that some of the other complaints but inquiries about immigration, liquor licenses is very prominent in that group as well. And then questions about COVID, getting services, and more importantly, vaccines. Where can people get the vaccine? I'll just say that our office has been busy, has always been a very busy office. However, it is even busier, but we are functioning and we're doing well and taking care of all the concerns of our community. I want to commend again the members of the community board for all that they do, and we this spring have a lot of work ahead of us.
Yes.
We have our beautification project that we'll be working on shortly. We will be collaborating with our local schools once they get into session again, and we will have some form of a health forum. I can't say health fair, but I can say that we'll have some health forum this year. Last year, of course, we were not able to do that, but we are working on seeing what we can do as close as possible to a health fair. Lastly, the mayor has has approved some parades, some street closings, and so we will see that activity coming in on a very small scale. So we are getting closer to the new normal. So I will keep you posted on all of those, those activities as they come in. And I want to thank you very much for being the best community board in the city of New York. Have a great evening.
I agree, Ms. Reed, and I just forgot to mention that you will be receiving a flyer soon. On May 1st, we will have another cleanup. We did this in the fall, but we're going to do it in the spring of the Flushing Bay Promenade area. So you will be receiving information about that. That's going to be on May 1st. And there was something else that I can't remember right now, but
I have very important announcements to make.
Oh,
This is
okay.
Dr. Nimmons. I have some very important announcements to make.
I'm sorry, Madam. Go
If I
ahead.
may. Yes. I would like to take this opportunity to just overwhelmingly commend our Community Board Chair, Renetta English, and Giovanna Reed and our district manager for the exceptional work that you are doing, and all of our board members. I am just so proud to be a part of this wonderful, wonderful organization, Community Board
Amen.
3. I
City
have,
agency.
sorry.
City agency.
I have some very, very important announcements to make. We have on March 21st, the birthday of Vivian Dock. Vivian Dock, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Vivian. Happy birthday.
What are you, Vivian?
Yes. And we also
Thank
have
you.
on March 21st, the birthday of our very own Fausto Rodriguez.
Fausto.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Yes.
Mommy?
Jimmy
No,
Smith too.
member.
Yes, she's gonna call your name, Mr. Smith. Don't worry about it. Go ahead, Miss
Our
Laverne.
very own senior member. We love you, Mr. Smith. We love, love, love you. His birthday is also March 21st.
Wow.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
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 Yes, yes,
We didn't get that birthday memo.
Very
And,
good.
and his neighbor, our very own esteemed Lorinda Hooks. Her birthday is March 23rd.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
March
Happy
31st,
birthday.
we have Richard Mink. Richard Mink's birthday is March 31st.
No.
Happy
Richard,
birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
I think
And
Richard.
our very own Chanel Thomas. Her birthday is also March 31st. So happy birthday.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday. March is very popular.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday, everyone.
Yeah,
Yes,
March.
yes, yes. So that
Alrighty.
concludes my very important announcements of the month. Thank you.
Okay. Did anybody else have anything to say in the chat? Kevin?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
But very quickly, because we still have a lot of reports to do.
Yeah. So
my last-
Marlene Tapper had something to add.
Yeah, starting next month, FEMA will be accepting applications to reimburse funeral costs for those who died from COVID-19. All you need is a death certificate. So if you know anyone or you have family, you'll be reimbursed for the funeral.
Thank you so much. And I know that our Congresswoman mentioned that, but thank you so much. Thank you. All right.
I gotta
So
say
Elba, and
something.
then we're going to continue. Go ahead, Elba.
I got my last dose yesterday.
Congratulations.
My sister and I, the three of us got the second dose.
All right,
So
very
I
good.
guess I wait 21 days, and
Okay.
you know,
It's very important
I'll be
everyone consider.
95% safe in
Yes.
91 days.
Wonderful. All right, so I call for a motion to adopt our February 18, 2021 minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So committee chairs, you have 1 minute to give a summary of, and I thank the committee chairs for all their wonderful hard work. Immigration, 1 minute. Where are you, Lobsang? Are you still here? Okay, we'll move on. Parks,
Thank you, Renetta. There will be a joint Parks Committee meeting on Monday, March 22nd at 7 p.m. The Queens Parks Department has put this meeting together between the Parks Committees of our board, Board 4 and Board 7. They're going to be talking about the promenade and the design. I believe that the office is sending out the committee notice and also inviting the land use committee. On Tuesday, the 23rd, I sent out to the Parks Committee members, and I believe the office also sent it out for a community input meeting, also regarding the promenade, and that's hosted by the Queens Park Department. I will be attending the Alliance meeting for the CAB because I represent the board on that on Wednesday.
So, it just makes things really kind of complicated.
wait. Can you mute yourself? I think it's Mr. Smith. Okay. All right, go ahead.
And so on Wednesday, the 24th, I'll be attending the CAB meeting for the Alliance, and then I will send the office a report after those meetings, and it should be included in next month. If you have any questions, you can actually call the office or email Giovanna or speak with Renetta, but the office has sent out the information for the Monday and the Tuesday meetings. Thank you.
Right, thank you. And it's very important, again, everyone, please review the committee chairs reports. Every time there's a committee meeting, our chairs work hard to create a report so you'll know what happened at the meeting. And the
Renetta,
report to give now is very short. Yes?
Mr. Chowdhury has a question for Marta.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Mr. Chowdhury. Ms. Marta, you have a question. Marta, you have a question.
Yes, Marta, as you said right now, there is a reimbursement of the funeral cost. If our people, we have lost a lot of people. Our Rahim Holiday also knows that.
Mr. Chowdhury, that question about the FEMA was asked by Marlene Tapper, and what we'll do is we'll take that one offline because
Okay.
we'll take it offline, and then email Miss Reed because I think she may have a contact also, so we'll take that one offline. All right. Okay. Public safety, Mr. Gideon and Miss Sonia Davis Roberts. Can you please turn on your microphone?
Sonia, are you there?
Sonia Roberts.
You want to do it, Mr. Gideon, or you want me to do it? No, you could do it.
You can say some and he can say some. It's up to what you go ahead.
Oh, once I start this. Okay, so pretty much on March 15th, the Public Safety Committee conducted a meeting. We had approximately about 15 attendees. The invited guests were Brian Deary from the FDNY and Lieutenant Sarasi from NYPD 115 Precinct. In the meeting, Public Safety discussed the following topics, which was fire safety and fire prevention, traffic impact on Junction Boulevard, attacks on Asian Americans in our community, speeding on Ditmars and some possible solutions. We discussed backyard fire pits and neighbor responsibility. And we lastly discussed the impact of street closures on 34th Avenue, in which we understand most people are happy with. We discussed numerous other important issues that impact our community as well. I strongly encourage all who are interested in public safety to come out to our next meeting, which is to be announced. Pretty much that's it. Thank you.
All right. And the committee had a very, go ahead, Mr. Gideon. Do you want to talk about maybe what happened at the 115th precinct meeting?
Yeah, well, it's not that much, over there in a 115 precinct meeting. We still was talking about the same thing, about safety, about scam, things like that. That was the same issue. That I was going to ask a question about if they have an update about the shooting on 93rd Street on 35th Avenue. The last Sunday, remember? They did come up with that update on this one.
All right,
and,
we'll
also, yeah, they did come up with that. So
Ms. Reed, you got that? She got it. Ms. Reed wrote it down.
Okay, so that's all we're talking about. That's another issue. I always come up with it, but they did come up with those things. So also I was for the meeting we had with Sarasi, so that was too bad. He could answer all the questions we had. So that's why we did finish. Asking more questions. So we left. Going to leave that for next time. So because we had more questions for him, but since he could answer those questions, so we left it. The way it was.
Yeah, the NYPD had technical difficulties.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Sonia and Mr. Gideon. You did a lot of. I know the report may not have everything in it, but you did a lot in your meeting, and I really appreciate it. Lopsong, you want to quickly go over what you did at your meeting?
Yes, give me 1 second, okay?
Can you make it short because we're hitting the time?
Okay. So dear committee board members, happy Women History Month. So we had a meeting on March 15 at 7:30 at on the Zoom. And since the Immigration Affairs Committee was formed for the first time under the CB3, under the leadership of Chairman English Renata, we just came up with some, probably you have seen the report from me, that we decided to come up with a statement. If you have any comments or any feedback on that one, just you are welcome. And Memorial Day 2021 that we discussed, and then we have decided to come up with 2 minutes Memorial Day video emphasizing on immigrants and how immigrants contributed to build and preserve the democracy in the United States. And the other one is the Immigrant Heritage Month 2021. It's still a planned phase, and we will have a meeting next month. to celebrate the Immigrant Heritage Month 2021 in June. And thank you, Ms. Reid, to bring up the idea of having a legal clinic or some sort of things for immigrant community. So if there's any nonprofit organizations or individuals, lawyers, or anyone like that, if you have any idea, just welcome. We are soliciting your ideas. And I was appointed to the Queens Board of Presidents, Donovan Richards, a General Assembly delegate. And if there's anything, then I will update to the board in the future.
All right, thank you, Lapsang. I just wanted to let everyone know when our committees do have meetings, please do your best to attend. All right, so I think we did sanitation, Mr. Chowdhury and David. David, are you here?
David is not here, but Mr. Chowdhury can read the report.
Can you please, Mr. Chowdhury?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Sanitation and Environment Committee. We met on the 16th, and we were been guided by our district manager, Ms. Reid, and our chairperson, Renata English, and our chairman was present. Committee chairman was present, David. So
you're also the co-chair.
I am the co-chair of this committee, and we had the opportunity to have in our meeting the Stephen Caruso. He is from Department of Sanitation, NY, DSNY, and we had also Olivari Robert. He is for the Department of Environment Protection. We were having all the questions being answered by them. That included the refuse and the recycling schedules, as our district has been subdivided into 3 sections and subsections. So we have also got the timings and they have marked all the areas into pink, blue, and yellow sections. And if you have, we'll include.
It's in the packet. It's in the folder.
In the packet, it is included. And then after we were discussing about LA collections, and then we discussed also the what impact of our this COVID manpower reduce in the collections, and we got the answers from the clearly. Basically, we also asked the department DEP about the what problems they face and what are they are facing in our area from their point of view, and they answered all the questions. And also we got the stats from December 2020 to March 21, and among them was one major issue that all our members might be interested to know, that we have a catch basin in Astoria Boulevard, 85 to 87th Street, and this was being assured to us this will be dealt with very quickly before anything next happens. So we are looking forward to meet next month, our meeting, and all our members. I request on behalf of our chairperson that please attend the next meeting. Thank you.
Yes, because we were we expected to see a lot more of you there at that meeting, because I know a lot of you had concerns as it relates to sanitation, and we expected to see a lot. We had enough, but we expected to see a lot more at Mr. Chowdhury and David Rosero's meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chowdhury. Traffic and Transportation, Stephen, and where are you, Edward? Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Steve, would you like to say anything?
Oh, go ahead, Ed. Go ahead.
Well, we didn't have a committee hearing this month, but there were 7 public forums that DOT held in various languages from late last month until I believe tonight was the last one. I think we had 1 or 2 members who were trying to join before this meeting. So we hope to hear from you later about that. We expect DOT to come back to us with their feedback and results from these committee hearings this spring. And I know next month we'll be discussing 2 street code namings. So we'll bring them next month.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you so much, Ed. Any committee referrals? The Borough President's report, Max Weprin. And if we can keep all of these reports short, thank
Hello
you.
guys, how are you? Thank you so much for having me. Just some upcoming events first. On next week on Tuesday, March 23rd, we have a virtual parent advisory board meeting at 6:00 p.m. We also have a virtual gender justice summit on Tuesday, March 30th in celebration of Women's History Month, and it will dive into women's rights across the spectrum. And you can RSVP for both of these events at queensbp.org. The borough president also delivered his first State of the Borough 2 weeks ago, and it's available for viewing on our website also at queensbp.org. And our swearing in and orientation for new community board members will be on April 19th. Also, my email is mweprin@queensbp.org. I will leave it in the chat also. Please, anybody, if you have any questions, concerns, anything, please reach out with anything at all. I'd be happy to help. And on behalf of Borough President Richards, thank you to Miss English, Miss Reed, and the rest of the community board for all your hard work, especially during this crazy time. So he really appreciates it, and our office does. And I'm looking forward to being in touch. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, wonderful. Mary, are you still here? Mary Jobida?
Yes, I am.
Very good. Go ahead, Mary. You have a minute?
Yes. Hi, my name is Mary Jobida, and I'm the constituent liaison of State Senator Jessica Ramos. I actually do not have a lot to share. Our office, we are moving our office from Junction Boulevard to Jackson Heights, but we're still unpacking. It's not ready to welcome guests. So once it is ready, we're gonna share the address with all of you. And before that, if anyone wants to reach out to our office, please call us at 718-205-3881. And my email address is maryjobidasenate13@gmail.com. I have also put it on the chat. It's one of the earliest comment. Thank you so much, and thank you, Madam Chair. Good night.
Thank you, Madam. James, a minute.
Hi, everyone. So I have a few updates. I'll try to get all of them quickly. First is that our office just did a recent preliminary budget presentation at the City Council. So I'm going to put it in the chat. It has a lot of good visuals. You can look at it very quickly and get the full picture. We also have a full report, which I'll also put in the chat if you want to get the details. But in general, what we could say is that the budget looks like it'll be okay in large part because of federal relief, like FEMA reimbursement of about $1 billion, about $5.6 billion in other federal aid. Even though the property tax collection went down significantly for the first time in 25 years, it looks like we'll still be able to close all the gaps for this year, but future years might be a little more difficult. We also did a report on CUNY's contribution to the local economy, and if you couldn't guess it already, it's very positive. We also did the annual audit report, which found $32 million worth of things that the city can save money on by being more efficient or by collecting fees that are being unrealized. We also did the contracts report for fiscal year 2020, an overview of all the contracts that all the city agencies had. We also we put out the agency watch list of the agencies that are working particularly in efficiency. Among those, it would be Department of Homeless Services and also Corrections. Corrections budget has increased despite the fact that there are fewer inmates now than there were in previous years, and there's higher rates of violence. So we feel like there needs to be a reorganization of the way money is spent there, because the programs they're using now don't seem to be very effective because employees are getting attacked. So thanks. Call me at 646-689-6509 if you need me. I'll put everything in the chat.
Thank you, James. Okay, Michelle, you have half a minute since we had our congresswoman here. Michelle Hernandez. All right, she typed in the chat, but I guess she...
Yeah, I think she left, but she put everything into the chat.
All right, very good. Takoya?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Okay, the council member is still doing the tax program with Urban Upbound. Also, we are able to get the homebound vaccinations have been rolled out. So there is a form that needs to be filled out. Once the form is completed, the city will follow up with a phone call. Should the senior be not eligible, the senior will also be offered an appointment at the site near them and provided transportation. I'm going to put all of that information into the chat. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly. And I'm also going to put that information in the chat. You guys have a great evening.
All right, Cuban.
Hi, this is Kevin at Councilman Drum's office. First, I wanted to thank you, Renetta, for reading the letter of support by Committee Board 11 and for CB3 support as a whole. Hate crimes against Asian American continue to rise. Your support means a lot to our Asian community and personally to me as Chinese American. Council District 25 comprises of 40% Asian American, which will leave huge of us vulnerable to such discrimination and racist violence. So we encourage you as a part of our community, please do not hesitate to report any type of misconduct to safety officials, whether it's for yourself or for friends or neighbors. We kindly ask that our community stand with us in solidarity and looks out for us. Following the commercial fire along 74th Street, Councilman met with several business owners who are deeply affected by fire and make sure the support and resources are made available for them. We thank several agencies on their prompt response to this issue, and our office will continue to provide support to them. Lastly but not least, we are currently in the midst of budget. Councilman has been meeting with many nonprofit organizations and groups on funding requests. Our staff continue to work remotely, and our clinic, legal clinic, is also accepting virtual appointments from those who need the service. So you can reach us at 718-803-6373 or email at drum@consult.nyc.gov. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Lily, are you there? Lily, I heard your voice earlier. Okay, so we're finishing 1 minute.
We have one last legislator, Kathleen
sorry.
Harris from DA District Attorney Melinda Katz's office. Kathleen?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I will be very quick. My name is Kathleen Williams, and I am the Director of Community Engagement at Queens District Attorney Melinda Katz's office, and that's Division of Community Partnerships. We'll always be at your meetings, and any events that you're having or programs, please do reach out to myself or my team. I did put my information in the chat. I'll do it again. I also wanted to invite you all to the DA's Women's History Month program Thursday, the 25th of March at 4 p.m. online. I did email the flyer to you all. So thank you so much. If you'd post it, we'd appreciate it. And we'd love to have Community Board 3 represented.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the for the invitation. So anybody else that I missed, or Michelle, do you want to just say a quick and then we'll log off? Michelle, you want to unmute yourself? Very good. So you have a minute.
Hi, yes, I shared all of the links for first of all, we have a question and answers on the stimulus relief package on our website. And so wanted to share that so folks can take a look if they have any questions, since the package included a lot of different reliefs programs. And I think the Congresswoman covered everything. And thank you all for all your kind words earlier today, and wishing you all a wonderful evening. I shared my email address if anyone has any questions for me or wants to get in touch about anything that was discussed earlier. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I call for a motion to end our meeting at 10:02 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, everyone, please be safe. Remember, COVID is there. COVID is real. So please be careful. All right, have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
You too. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
All right, bye-bye.
Good night.